Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. So, before we dive into today's episode, which is really just going over all things Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16, we are going to get into it. We're going to talk about the Kenya of it all, the Brit of it all. Whose side are you on? As you come into the room, be sure to put it down below. Are you on Kenya's side, Brit's side, nobody's side? The Shamea versus Porsha of it all. Whose side are you on? Porsha, Shamea, Porsha versus Drew. Drew or Porsha? Put it down below. And what do you think of the new girls? What do you think of Brit and Kelli and Angela? And all of it. So we're going to get into it. So before we do that, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. It is a fun and easy way to support me and the show, and I'd really appreciate it. So with that, let's go. So first up, I'm going to play a clip of, I believe it's Giorgio Says on TikTok, and he kind of breaks down what happened between Kenya and Britt. And he also brings in a little bit more of Kenya's side to it. You know, Kenya was invited to the reunion, then she was disinvited. So she had to go on YouTube and sort of do her own sort of YouTube confessional talking about everything. But he really breaks it down. So I'm going to show that clip now, again, as Giorgio Says on TikTok. And then I'll say what I think and what I think is really going on, because I agree with some of it. And I think that some of it is also wrong, just on my opinion. So I want to know what you guys think. So let's all listen together.
Well, sad that Kenya has to go this route to have to give her side of the story, because boy, oh boy, did she spill. Kenya covered it all, or as much as she could, in this 31-minute YouTube video where she goes through everything. She even goes through taking accountability and explaining things that she's seeing across the internet. And she addressed everything from pulling Lisa's chair on that one season to the infamous thing that everyone keeps bringing up where she's in her closet with her friend Brandon and she's talking jokingly about this pew-pew, and then we see it on camera and how that's way different than what she experienced with Britt. She also says that she was initially invited to attend the reunion and then was disinvited. So it's clear, based on what we've been watching play out on the show and what Kenya talks about in her more confessionals video, is that there was a lot cut out, and there's definitely a narrative that they want to keep at the network, which is why I think that she's burnt this bridge with Bravo at this point, and we may not see her again on Bravo. Nonetheless, the issue here is that Kenya details that Britt was going really hardcore that night, and of course, we only saw just a snippet of that, so imagine what we didn't see. But Kenya says that at one point, Britt did look at her and said, "I keep pew-pews for chiz like you." And I've said this in another video, but it's like, hey, if I went into my job and I went up to a coworker and was like, "You know what, Joe? That's why I keep pew-pews for coworkers like you," I would absolutely be out of a job. So yeah, it was a bit perplexing to know that Kenya that very night went to the showrunner and said, hey, what's going on here? She's threatening me with a pew-pew and I'm not comfortable. I don't know this girl. And another good point that was brought up was, you did an investigation, but you didn't check anything that night. At least from her POV, she says nothing was done to say like, okay, well, if that's pretty serious, we need to check your car, we need to check your handbag, what's going on here? And let's be crystal clear, that does not equate to what Kenya did at her hair salon opening as like a justified approach. She even says she understands wholeheartedly that that was a huge mistake on her part. But what she's not going to take accountability for is this narrative that Britt really ran with, which was, oh, Kenya, pretty much did revenge PORN, when in fact, Kenya says these photos are still in the corners of the internet that anybody could find. So whatever scrubbing Britt did, she missed a few spots. And to be clear, Kenya says they're still on the internet right now. And I've also been uncovering a ton of lies, just based week to week on what Brit says on the show. And so, yeah, I do lean towards they clearly didn't want to deal with Kenya anymore. Brit overpromised that she would come for Kenya. Kenya didn't try anything because Kenya's point was, I wanted to come in this season and be like the bigger sister, the mentor for the newbies. And in fact, we saw Kenya did nothing to Brit, and Brit can't even say what really got her there. She just keeps saying that she was being hazed or Kenya was just giving her this weird energy. And Kenya's also right about another thing. Had that threat been posed on any other franchise, Orange County, Beverly Hills, New York, New Jersey, Miami, Brit would not be on the show anymore. So this is really backwards to me. I think the flaw here, though, is that Kenya took the approach she did, and unfortunately, the narrative got spun out of her control and left her in the dark, which is why she's on YouTube telling us what her version of the story is. But do you think Kenya should be able to go to the reunion? Let me know.
Okay, you guys. So he kind of broke it down to give both perspectives from Brit and from Kenya. And now I'm going to break down what I agree with and what I don't agree with. And I want you guys to put it in the chat box below. First, let me know, do you think Kenya should be allowed to go to the reunion? I personally think she should be able to go to the reunion, give her side of the story. At the end of the day, what she did was very distasteful. I do think it was the right call to no longer have her film the show after what she did, but she didn't do anything violent. So I don't know why she physically couldn't show up at the reunion. We've had housewives physically fight each other and still show up at reunions together. We've had Porsha fight Kenya at a reunion of Real Housewives of Atlanta. They got into a physical altercation, the two of them, and they've still have gone on to be co-stars on upcoming on various seasons. So I don't see why Kenya couldn't come to the reunion because of this. Now, where I disagree with the narrative that behind the scenes prior to the season, there's this sort of theory going around that Bravo and Andy no longer wanted to deal with Kenya, and so they kind of wanted a reason to take her out of the show and take her down, and that they were sort of feeding Brit, like, you need to be the one to go against Kenya. Brit overpromised. I was like, I will take her down, and that was the reason why Brit came in so hot against Kenya when Kenya really didn't do anything to Brit. I don't think that's true. I think that if Bravo and Andy wanted Kenya gone, they just wouldn't have brought her back. I just think they wouldn't have brought her back. What I think happened between these two women is in the title of this video. I think it was deep-rooted insecurity. That's why Giorgio's like, we can't, even Brit can't even say why she came in hot, because I don't think Brit is self-aware enough and is conscious enough of what her motivating factors are to realize the reason why no matter what Kenya said to her, she was going to take it some type of way was because she felt insecure. I think Brit, at the end of the day, was probably a fangirl of Kenya. Probably wanted to be her best, wanted to be her bestie, wanted to wear her skin, wanted to be, accepted and validated by Kenya. But when you are like that and you come from a place of insecurity, of not feeling good enough or lack, you will take anything the person that you idolize does to you as a slight. Like, girl, Brit, you weren't wearing your wedding band. You look like you were engaged, not married. If you only wear your engagement ring, but you don't wear your wedding band, the logical assumption is that you are engaged. So the fact that Kenya was like, oh, are you engaged, not married? You're not wearing your, like, you don't have a band on. That's normal. That's literally just societal norms. You're not wearing a wedding band, babe. Like, the fact that you thought she was throwing shade at you was whack and weird. I'll get to her alleged marriage in a second. Maybe she's not really married. Maybe they're not. I don't know. We've had fake marriages. We've had fake relationships on shows before. Maybe that's why it was a trigger. Maybe that's why she's not wearing a wedding band. I'm not saying that's true. Everything in this video is alleged for entertainment purpose only, but who knows why that was such a trigger for her. And at the party, when Kenya came in, kind of gave her like a normal air kiss, she was doing whatever, whatever the case may be, Britt took it way too far. Again, I think it's because of her own insecurity, and she's probably idolized Kenya for a very long time. And that's what led to it going all the way left. And I'll get to what I think I'll get to what I think is really going on with Bravo and Kenya in a second. So I think the reason why Britt came so hard for Kenya wasn't because a producer told her to. I think it was out of her own insecurity. Now, when it comes to Kenya, okay. I also think Kenya was working out of her own insecurity, not because she feels insecure about Britt specifically, but I think she was feeling insecure, she's becoming a woman of a particular age, she's divorced, single mom, or co-parenting mom, and throwing all this money into this, brick and mortar hair care spa. We all know those places are, unless you have a lot of money to burn, you're going to burn through a lot of money before you make a profit, usually with brick and mortar. So who knows what's going on with that? She's already stressed out. Mark played the hell out of her, and then you have these younger girls coming in on the show, unclear about, finances, position on the show, younger girls coming in, you're getting older. I think Kenya already had a lot of stuff going on with her. And I also think she probably had her own insecurities going on about a lot of stuff, because you have to be a little bit out of your mind to have literally gone to Kinko's or to Staples or whatever the hell she went and literally find and print out posters of another woman that you don't even really know like that. I get the pew pew situation, and I'm going to get to that, but you don't do all of that. Like, that took a lot of work. You don't hire someone to go on the internet and sleuth. You don't do the big printouts on your big day. You said you spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this brick and mortar, allegedly for your daughter. You are worried about not having clients, people not getting in the door. It's literally your launch party. The whole event should have only been you promoting your business. And you spend the entire afternoon with blowups of somebody else in actual X-rated positions. Kenya, you lost your damn mind. And only someone who is going through something that has literally nothing to do with Britt. I get the pew pew, but that has nothing to do with Britt. That is acting out in a way that is a cry for help. That is a level of self-sabotage, that something deeper is going on with you. Because Kenya could have clapped back at Britt in a million different ways at a million different times, but she chose to do it so publicly on the one day that literally should have been about her. There's something deeper going on. So I think both of these women are going through their own insecurities, maybe their own trauma, maybe something else going on with them, and they're projecting it onto each other. Because Britt's reaction to Kenya, out of pocket, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, does not make sense. And Kenya's reaction to Britt, also cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, out of pocket, and does not make sense. I think that these are two individual women who are deeply insecure and projecting and lashing out in crazy wackadoodle ways. Because Kenya could have got Britt anytime, any place, anywhere. The way she did it and where she did it was whack as hell. Now, the pew pew situation in Bravo. This is what I think is actually going on with that. Like I said, I don't believe the theory that Bravo and Andy didn't want Kenya on the show, and so they got in Britt's ear to take down Kenya. That doesn't make any sense. I think that when Britt was going off about the pew pew, that's why I have pew pew for bees like you. I do think Kenya had every single right to be upset, and I think that she went to the showrunner or one of the producers and voiced her concerns, and I don't think they took Kenya seriously. I don't think they took Britt seriously. I don't think they took the fight or the situation seriously. It wasn't physical violence. Again, and trust me, I'm not saying that what Britt said wasn't horrible. It was horrible. And it was violent. Verbal violence is violence. Emotional violence is violence. I'm saying what I think Bravo producers thought. I don't think they took it seriously because no one got hit, there was no drink spilled, no purses. Unfortunately, these shows, the bar is so disgustingly low, like, or high, however you want to look at it, where unless somebody is bopping somebody in the head with a purse, they're not taking it seriously. I don't think they took it seriously. I don't. And so now the fact that everyone's like, wait a minute, this is something you could probably sue over. This is a misstep. They're on a TV show, but they're working. These are employees. They went to their employer. They went to their boss and said, hey, I don't feel safe. This person said this, because at the end of the day, Brit saying I have a pew pew, that puts everybody in danger. That puts production and crew and the rest of the cast in danger. That puts civilians who are just at the restaurant or working in danger. Pew pews don't have a name on it. And this day and age, I wouldn't take that lightly. Somebody says they have a pew pew for people like me, I'm taking that hella serious. But I don't think the executives did. And I don't think they did a investigation, because now all of a sudden on Watch Happens Live, Andy's like, well, they did an investigation and you didn't have a pew pew. But no, y'all did not. Again, this is my opinion. I don't think there was an investigation. I think they're saying there was retroactively, because Bravo and NBC don't want to get sued. This is to me, this is them watching their butts. They have so many lawsuits already, it's not even funny. I think that they did not do an investigation in real time. I think retroactively, maybe they did one, but not in real time. Because if they did a investigation in real time, how come none of the ladies talked about it? How come there wasn't one of those flashcards that said Bravo NBC did an independent investigation into Brit's allegations, Kenya's whatever, about the pew pew, nothing was found, so we decided to continue filming with her? Wait, 1 second, you guys. All right, I'm back. I have to get a cough drop because I'm talking so much. Okay. So if you hear me smacking, it's the cough drop. I apologize. Okay. So again, I think that Bravo, they're covering their butts. None of the women talked about Brit being investigated by Bravo. There was no break in filming for Brit to be investigated at all. And they break the fourth wall all the time. Porsha broke the fourth wall. Her whole storyline with her baby daddy and Drew is that she's pissed that Dennis wants to film and have camera time with Drew. Literally, we saw Porsha say, is it okay if I break the fourth wall as a producer here? And they're like, yeah, break it. So it's not about not breaking the fourth wall. None of the women said, well, there was an investigation. She didn't have a pew pew, whatever the case may be. No, they didn't skip a beat. They kept filming. Kelli went over to Brit's house. Brit's makeup free, pulling at Erica Jane. Oh, I'm so distraught and crying. I have no makeup on. This means I'm so distraught. Whoa, 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 whoa. Woe is me. All this crap. She films everybody else. There was no mention of any investigation in real time, because in my opinion, there wasn't one. And so now Bravo is doubling down on Kenya being the villain and she's wrong, inviting her to the reunion, uninviting her, this, that, and the third, in case it goes to court. Because if they acquiesce now, that they're basically saying, yeah, we did something wrong on our end. There was a misstep on our end. So they have to double down on Kenya's the worst and awful person for legality reasons. Because if they don't and it goes to court, that could look bad on them. But in my opinion, I don't think Bravo did an investigation on Brit in real time. Maybe they did a fake investigation retroactively, so it looks good on paper, but I don't think they did in real time. And I think they should have. Now, that does not negate the fact that what Kenya did was wrong. I personally think that if Bravo in real time had did the investigation against, not against Brit, but about Brit, I don't think that, I think Kenya would still be on the show. I don't think Kenya would have done what she did. However, she did do what she did. And I think that both of them should have gotten suspended. I think Brit should have gotten suspended, and I think Kenya should have gotten suspended for what they did. What Kenya did was wrong and dirty and hurtful. You know, it may not be textbook revenge porn because allegedly these photos are already out there, but you don't do that. You don't do that. That is just disgusting and gross and just horrible. And even this episode, Drew being like, oh, did you ever sell the cat? Yeah. Did you ever do corn? Yeah. Also disgusting. It was funny. I laughed because that was the petty part of me laughing. But the real part of me was like, that's also gross. Who cares? What if she did? What if she didn't? Who cares? If someone wants to be honest about their past or something that they did, then that's on them. But to try and dig up that and throw it in a woman's face is, to me, is disgusting. Now, I'm not the biggest Brit fan. I do think she's shady. I do think she's flip-flopping and lying and hiding a bunch of stuff. But I also don't think it's right to try to shame a woman if she did sex work. Who cares? If she was an adult and she was consenting, who cares? They're trying to shame her for that. Drew, girl, bye. I don't think that's a beat. I don't think that's funny. I don't think that's a moment. Well, I did think it was funny because I'm a human and I'm petty and it's a show. And the way she said it, did you ever saw the cat? That was funny. But the core of it, the emotional and intellectual analysis of it, that's wrong. Now, I do think Brit lies. I do think Brit was wrong for what she did to Kenya. I do think that she should have been investigated for the pew pew comment. In my opinion, I do think that she's in a coercive, controlling relationship, marriage with her husband. Why was he there at filming? It's giving very Kim Zolciak and Croy, where Kim goes, Croy is, where Croy is, Kim is. It's very bizarre. Her husband is in like every scene with her except for Nashville. She couldn't have a conversation with his own sister without him interjecting. Her sister was crying to her, being like, I can't even talk to you without him listening in on the phone. It's giving coercive control. It's giving unhealthy. It's giving some things a ticky ticky boom boom. I don't know what's going on. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose people. I'm just saying what it's giving based on what I see. Okay? So, there's that. All right, let's talk about, and put it down below what you guys think, okay? Now, let's see. Now, let's talk about Porsha and Drew, okay? Porsha and Drew, I have the feeling something happened off camera pre-filming between Porsha and Drew for sure, and perhaps Dennis and Ralph. That is the true catalyst for the shift in friendship between Drew and Porsha. There's an elephant in the room. There's something that's unspoken. It's given, did they have a threesome? Did they have a foursome that went left? Did Porsha talk about Drew behind Drew's back and it came back to Drew and now Drew's on her get back? Something it just isn't adding up. Like, I don't think we have the true story between the breakdown in friendship between Porsha and Drew, because Porsha is too, yes, Porsha's doing a lot, but she's also too calm about it for there not to be something deeper going on that maybe she knows she did something. And Drew is too confident with it. Like, yeah, Porsha, well, I tried to call you and tell you, and it's okay. We can just be like, something happened with this crew. And the fact that Dennis is so gung-ho to support Drew in all of this. Do you know what I mean? Again, sorry, it's a cough drop. I don't mean to swallow in your ear. So, and also the fact that Ralph is so like jealous and into it, like something happened that they're not being honest about. I don't think that overnight Drew and Dennis were like, let's make music together. F Porsha and Ralph. I don't think that just happened miraculously overnight. Something else is the root cause of what happened between Porsha and Drew that they're not being honest about. That's just sort of what I land on that. Like something else isn't going on. Okay. Now, when it comes to Porsha and the dynamic of the other women, I'm actually really relieved because at first I thought that the show was going to be like Porsha and friends and it was just going to be a show of everybody kissing Porsha's butt. But I think what is so interesting about this group of women is that there isn't really a queen bee in the cast. Shamea, although she is very rich and I guess from like Havoc's in the airport, I don't have time to look into her husband's money to make sure it's legit. I'm just going to hope it's legit, but they seem to have a lot of money for I don't know exactly what I don't know. Whatever. I'm going to let the LA Times, I'll let the blogs blog and I'll report if anything comes out. Hopefully nothing does, but we'll see. Anyway, I pray nothing comes out. I hope it's all clean and all legit. Even though Shamea has a lot of money, and even though Shamea is sort of the glue that brought everyone together, she sort of knew everybody and brought them all together. She knew Porsha and all the other people. She's not a queen bee. She energetically, personality, she's not a queen bee. To me, Porsha is like the cheerleader who perked in high school and still thinks she's the person, she's like the queen bee, but she's not. It's like you peaked in high school and now you don't even go here. Like that's the energy Porsha gives. And none of the other women bow down to her. And that's super refreshing. There's nobody who's kissing anybody's butt. There's nobody who's placating to the other people. There's friendships, but not true alliances, which is also really refreshing. Like, for example, Angela, and by the way, I love Angela. She is the standout MVP to me. She is going through, allegedly, in my opinion, maybe some perimenopause or menopause. She's getting the hot flashes with the fan and she's sweating. I'm like, it's hilarious. I'm here for it. She has money. She's quirky. She's kooky. She's like, what's going on? She's getting cosmetic surgery. She's hiding in Neiman Marcus. Like, it's so cute. I think she's really fun. She stirs the pot. She flip-flops. In 1 minute, she's there for Brit. The next, she's Team Twirl. She's all over the place. She's bringing Drew on Porsha's trip. I'm like, I am so here for Angela. So here for her. I think she's fun. I think she's a moment. I love her personality. She it's just like, what do you mean I couldn't invite Drew? You said I couldn't invite her. So like I invited her. Like, who cares? Like, obsessed. I love Angela. Now, the rumors about her husband having a baby on her, who cares? Because I don't think Angela cares. And again, that's why I kind of love her like quirkiness. She's like, what did you hear about Charles? What did you hear about my husband? What did you hear about Charles? I'm in Oakley. I think she's fine. I think she's happy that to me, her and Charles give glorified roommates and business partners. That's the vibe rather than like husband wife, and I'm so here for it. I think she doesn't care. I think she's happy to have the money. I think she's happy to be in Oakley. I think she's happy to now have like proxy to celebrity. I don't think she cares. Angela does not seem bothered. So I don't know why anybody else should. She doesn't seem like she's, because in some situations, right, when the guy has a baby on the side, the woman is like forlorn and scorned and like long suffering and is like going through it and it's like completely awful. I don't know if you guys watch Love and Hip Hop, but like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, like Rashida and Kirk, when he had a baby on Rashida, yikes, that was horrible. Rashida, girl, that's a whole mess. But Angela isn't giving that. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, I just went and got Botox on my nose. I'm going shopping. Like, I'm fine. I am so here for Angela. Like, I want to be friends with her. I want to do brunch. I want to go shopping. She can get procedures. I'll get some facials. We'll be besties. We're good. Love her. There is that. What was I talking about before? I just went on my little like Angela love tour. I forgot. Anyway, let's talk about. Okay, so I talked about Porsha and Drew. Okay, Porsha, no queen bee. There we go. So yeah, so when it comes to Porsha, she's not the queen bee, and the newbies made that very, very clear. Kelli came out the gate with, "Oh, tell her not to steal anybody's man. Why did she steal that woman's man?" I think that Porsha lost all credibility when she got with Simon, because it doesn't matter that Porsha and Fallon weren't close friends. You went to that woman's home. You were in her face. And then you turned around 45 days later and was engaged to her whole husband. Like, what? If I work at FedEx and I introduce my coworker to my husband, and then a month later, my coworker is now engaged to my husband, that's a problem. So just because you're on a reality TV show doesn't make what you did not nasty and crazy as hell. And I love that the girls came in being like, "No, Porsha, you peaked in high school, and you're not that girl anymore." And I think Porsha is to me, Porsha's sad. And I feel like Porsha sees Shamea, and Shamea has the life that Porsha thought should be hers: the rich, loving husband, the multi-million dollar, mansion, the babies running around, and, the fun and fabulous friends. But when you look at Porsha, she's now twice divorced. She has a baby daddy. I don't know what the money's doing. I don't know what the home life is looking like. It's kind of, and I also think Porsha could have had such a bigger career. I really think she could have had a much bigger career. I think she did herself a disservice when she quit Dish Nation. I think she could have done acting. She could have been like a Tyler Perry girl, or whatever the case may be. I think Porsha could have been such a bigger star than where she's ended up. Now, everybody loves a comeback story, so I'm not counting her out. Porsha's not my cup of tea. She's not my type of juice. But I do think that, everybody loves a comeback story. Who knows? But I think that Porsha is very sad and is very, very bitter. But the problem is, Porsha made her bed, so she has to sleep in it. She's the one who made those choices, and she can't say Simon duped her. This man was married. I don't care if he was going through problems. I don't care what line he fed you. Everybody knows the married man is going to get into your ear and be like, "Oh, me and my wife are separating. Oh, we're done, this, that, and the third," until the ink is dried on the divorce papers. He's married. Okay, sweetheart, stop it. And you were all in his wife's face. Stop it, boo-boo. Okay. And she even said on it was either Watch What Happens Live or on the show, one of the two, she even said that Shamea's husband, who is friends with Simon, warned her about Simon. Because Simon, I'll say allegedly for the last 40 years has been a scammer. Scheming, scamming, deportating, frauds, left, right, and the third. So if everyone is telling you, including his best friend who you were hanging out with, saying, "Hey, this guy is a scammer, something's up," and you lose him how you got him, you have to look in a mirror and take accountability. You can't blame, and I'm not defending Simon, trust me on that one, please. But you have to take responsibility for the choices that you make. Because the only way you're going to make better choices and have a different result is when you take responsibility and accountability for your life. Because at the end of the day, the only person who's making your choices are you. And you can't be like, "They made me." No, you chose. And I think that Porsha is very, very bitter. And I think she's very sad. Now, when it comes to Shamea, this might be an unpopular opinion, and I hope I explain this correctly. Like the title says, insecure women. Shamea, she has on paper everything. Has, 2 beautiful children, she has great friends, she has a loving husband, she has a ton of money, a beautiful house, but she, to me, is still very insecure. She talks about being a people pleaser, how she focuses on other people's problems so she doesn't have to focus on herself. That's from a deep rooted insecurity. That's being very codependent. You see that in her relationship with Porsha. Porsha dogs the hell out of Shamea all of the time. Porsha clearly does not like Shamea. Porsha's mother clearly does not like Shamea. And that's not my opinion. That's what they literally said on the show. Porsha and her mother were dogging the hell out of Shamea, being like, watch out for her. Watch out the one who brings the bone. When Shamea was defending Porsha. So, and then Porsha being like, that's not your voice when Shamea had her song out, because Porsha, again, was probably very jealous because Shamea has a life Porsha wanted. She's doing music, she has the husband and all this, that, and the third. And that's what Porsha always wanted. She wanted to sing. She wanted them to be married to money. She wanted all of that. And that's clearly not working out for her. And now Shamea has her own peach. So she's not a +1. She is her own peach. With all that being said, I still think Shamea is very deeply insecure, because you have to be deeply insecure to still be friends with a woman who makes it very clear that she does not like you. And I don't care what anybody says, Porsha does not like Shamea. She doesn't like her. She thinks that she's better than her. She thinks that Shamea is beneath her. She likes Shamea as a yes person, as a lapdog, as a mouthpiece. But as a person, Porsha doesn't like her. It is so obvious. She does not like her. She showed up to her birthday party late and made an entrance when she was getting the Rolls Royce and made the moment about herself and not about her friend. She can say all day long, oh, I came in and had to do. No. If you were late for whatever reason, because people always make excuses for being late when there's really no good excuse. If you know it takes 2 hours to get somewhere, you leave 2 hours to get there. Okay? When you see her having that moment, you stay in the car or you wait on the side and you let her have the moment, and then you come into the scene. But you don't come into the scene when she's accepting the car. You want the moment. You want the attention. You don't want the spotlight to be on her. You don't like her. Okay? You don't. And I think the people pleasing and the codependency and the being friends with women who do not like you, defending women who do not defend you, beyond defending, Shamea always defends Porsha, but beyond women who do not defend you, defending women who actively talk bad about you and play the hell out of you. Absolutely not. You're not a secure woman when you choose to stay in invalidating friendships with other women. Hell no. Because no amount of money can buy you internal self-worth. No amount of money. Now, when it comes to Shamea too, and I like Shamea, I do. I like her. I think she's quirky and fun, but she's kind of corny. She kind of has a cornball energy. Like in the confessional, she's always making those like like weird faces and like Michael Jackson and singing and doing weird stuff. Like, I think she's nice. I think she's a nice person, but she's kind of a cornball. She's kind of corny, if that makes sense. Not in a mean, nasty way, because I like her. But she's kind of goofy cornball, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I kind of think she's a little bit of she's a cornball, you know what I mean? But she's cute, she's fun. I think she has a good heart, a good spirit. Shamea just needs to work on her self-esteem and being secure in herself, not being codependent, and really stepping out, because she has this sort of front of, I'm not the +1, I am the one, and I can do all of this, and I got this, and blah, 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 and I can do this. But at the same time, actions speak louder than words. You're saying you're this bad bee, and you got this, and da, 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 but your actions are revealing that you're not that confident in yourself. We can all say it, but it's what you do and it's how you show up that really proves it. So I do like Shamea. I just want Shamea to like Shamea. I'm also very confused and a little bit concerned about the children baby journey. I don't have children, and I am a woman that I have never wanted children. I will never have children. That is just a journey that I will never have, never wanted to have it, will never have it. And I guess for me, I just don't get it that if you already have 2 children, why is her and her husband still trying for more given the medical implications? How clearly Shamea's body is, not reacting very well. She did all the rounds of IVF and this, that, and the third. The last surrogate, thank God she, survived, but had breast cancer. And then their child had complications, but, God willing, she's here and she's going to be healthy and everything, thank God for all of that. I just don't get why there has to be this continuation of we need and want more kids, more kids, more kids, more IVF, more surrogacy, more kids, more kids, more kids. I don't know. Do they want a son? Is that like I don't know. I just never get where it's like you sure you want to be a parent. Okay. You are a parent. Why keep the mental and emotional and physical and spiritual trauma and stress and anxiety and depression and all of that goes into trying to make a child when it's so clearly every sign is saying stop? I don't know. I don't get that. I don't get that. And I'm a very maternal person in the sense of I love children, children love me. I'm an amazing caregiver for people. Just because I don't want children doesn't mean I'm not maternal. Those are two different things. And a lot of people who have children are not maternal. That's why we have children who are neglected and abused because they're not maternal or they're not paternal. You know what I mean? But I don't get that. That always boggles my mind. I don't get it. And I don't care how much money you have. Money doesn't buy your health back. Money doesn't buy your life back if you pass away. Money doesn't buy the health of the child. Money doesn't buy the mental and emotional and spiritual well-being of the mother or of the surrogate or of the child or the time back. Because Shamea clearly has gone through a lot. I don't know. I don't get that. To me, I don't get it. I'm always like, what's really going on? Like, what's really good? Like, what is the real driver behind all of that? Is it her? Is it the husband? Is it her? I don't know. That's bizarre to me. That's just sort of how I feel. I don't know. But there's that. Let's see who else is on here. I talked about okay, so Kelli. Okay, Kelli. I like Kelli. I do. I think I like her. I think she's sweet. I think she's genuine. I do think that Kelli is a lot more strategic than people give her credit for. I think Kelli is quiet. She sits in the cut. She observes. Sorry, not absorbs. Observes. Anyway, you know what I mean. She observes everything going on around her. She clocks people and she holds on to it. But she seems to be very loyal. She seems to be very fair. I'm still a bit confused. And I think there was maybe some shady stuff going on with her whole divorce with the guy who was like abusive, and now she still has security. But they have been divorced. I don't know. There's still like the timeline, the security of it all, the money of it all. I was reading some article and it seemed like they had all these like loans and debts to third party. So I'm not sure that, about the money and the debt and the all this stuff. I don't know. Again, people who have these brick and mortar stores, these restaurants, these spas, these whatever the case may be, unless you're really doing well, there's always either a lot of debt, a lot of loan, a lot of collateral going on. It's tough, especially in this day and age, to have a thriving brick and mortar, even if it is a restaurant, even if it is in Atlanta. So it seemed like there was something going on. And then where was she, and when she was filming, when she had the peace brunch, was that supposed to be her house? Because I saw that she had to sell her marital home and divvy up the assets with her ex-husband. So maybe that was after filming. I'm not sure. So I don't know what's going on with Kelli and her finances and the husband who to me seems like an evil piece of work, and just thank God she and her beautiful kids are away from him, because everything she said just sounded horrible. But Kelli herself, I think she's really cool. She seems to have a good head on her shoulder. I do think she's holding a lot back. I think I understand she talked about the abuse in her marriage and, going through all of that seems to be exposing a lot. But when you really look at it, what do we I still think that Kelli's holding a lot back. I think she tells you enough, but there's still a lot going on with her. But I do really like her. I think she's cool. And I do like that she came in being like, Porsha, you're not the queen bee. We're calling you to task. It is what it is. I do like that she was really, good friends with Kenya. It seemed like she was really there for her and understood. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I think Kenya was really going through it. I do not agree with what Kenya did to Brit. I think what she did was dirty and wrong. But I also think that Kenya was really going through something. And I think that Kelli saw that in her and was going to be a really good friend to her until what Kenya did. And it's hard to stand by someone who would do that to someone. It's just, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. She went way too low, and it is what it is. Again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I think Bravo now is just trying to do some damage control, because I think they completely mishandled the situation. I don't think they took what Brit said about the pew pew seriously at all. And I don't think they did an investigation in real time. I think all of that, I think they're saying that now to save face and to mitigate any lawsuit. But I think that if Bravo had done their job, then I don't think Kenya would have done what she did. But she did do what she do, and it went the way it did. So there's that. But I really, really do like Kelli. Now let's see. Who else is there? Cynthia, girl. Cynthia, same old Cynthia. Same old 50 Cent. Going along to get along. Okay, Fitty. That's really all I have to say about Cynthia. She's there. Let's see. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Let me see if I have anything else. Okay, so overall about the show, I'm loving the glitz and the glam of it all. I think all the girls are beautiful. I'm loving, I hope it's real wealth, but I love the display of like the luxury and the clothes and the style and the stylists and the houses and the bags and the jewelry. And it's also shot very well. Maybe they got a new production team or they got new equipment, but I also think that this season has been shot very beautifully. It's been shot very much like the Real Housewives of New York. And I'm talking aesthetically, because we know the issues with the girls in New York. So I'm not talking about the cast. I'm talking about the aesthetic of the shoot. I think it's being shot very beautifully. So I'm really excited with that. I do hope that they're able to sort of put the Brit Kenya situation to bed a bit, because I really enjoyed the first 3 episodes of the show. It was really exciting, but then the mood kind of shifted when the whole Brit and Kenya thing happened. Of course it did. So I wanted to get back to that fun, because I was really excited. When I saw the first episode of the season, I was like, oh, this is not what I expected. I'm happily surprised. And I'm totally watching this entire season because it seems really, really interesting and fun. So I hope it kind of gets back to that. I'm actually looking forward to them bringing Phaedra back. We'll see when she comes back on the show. Clearly she came back to replace Kenya as an OG, on the show once Kenya was no longer able to film. I think that's why they brought Phaedra in to replace her. And this is the thing. This is a side note since we talked about Phaedra, but she's not on there yet. I'm going to say this about Phaedra on Married to Medicine. This is what I think happened with Phaedra on Married to Medicine. And I blame production for this. Phaedra never should have been casted for Married to Medicine. Number one, she's not medicine. Number two, she wasn't married to medicine. This whole fake doctor she was dating was a bunch of BS, in my opinion. She should not have been cast there. And another reason why she should not have been cast on there is because Kandi Burruss, not me, Kandi Washington, Kandi Burruss. Kandi Burruss will never in life forgive Phaedra for the rumor I'll say allegedly started, right? We all know what happened. The dungeon. Will never in life forgive her. Ever. Why in the world would you then cast Phaedra onto a show where every woman on that show, save maybe Toya, is deeply, deeply friends with Kandi Burruss? Not just friends with, but in business with. Kandi Burruss and Dr. Jackie are in business together. They have a whole business of surrogates and IVF. Because don't forget, Kandi had a surrogate for her 2 children with Todd that Dr. Jackie got her. And so, of course, Kandi makes a business out of every single thing in the world. So her and Dr. Jackie have a surrogacy business going on. That's how Shamea got her surrogate, through Dr. Jackie and by knowing Kandi. So Dr. Jackie has Kandi's back. Okay? Dr. Simone has Kandi's back. Heavenly is all up Dr. Jackie's butt, therefore she's up Kandi's butt. Ain't no way in hell these women were ever going to play nice with Phaedra when their loyalty and allegiance is to Kandi. And if casting did their job, they would have known that. So Phaedra, and I'm not defending Phaedra for what she did to Kandi, because that was wrong. All day long, that was wrong and terrible. Okay? However, Phaedra was set up to fail because she went into a situation where every woman, except for maybe Toya, was actively preparing to tear her down because they are on Kandi's side. And casting never should have put Phaedra in that situation. It was never going to work. They were always going to try and take her down. They were always going to try to sabotage her out of their allegiance to Kandi. Because don't forget, Kandi has a lot of money. Kandi has a lot of power. Kandi is out there. She is booked and busy and has a lot of money, and she has a lot of power, especially in Atlanta. They're not going to go against her. They're not going to buddy up to Phaedra. Because we love Faye, but I mean, Faye doesn't have the type of power that Kandi has. That's my 2 cents on that. And I don't know who in production thought it was a good idea to put Phaedra in with those women and that it was going to be a key. And that's why you had what happened on there. And that's why Phaedra left and was just like, you're not going to play in my face. Because it was personal, and I think it was personal against Phaedra, and I also think it was calculated against Phaedra, and I think it was plotted against her. Very, very, very much so. None of those women were ever going to really accept Phaedra, ever, because they would never go against Kandi. I would never go against Kandi, and I don't even live in Atlanta. Okay. So there's that. All right, back to Real Housewives of Atlanta. So we'll see how Phaedra, goes into the mix once she's introduced into everything. But that's kind of my 2 cents in everything. Again, just to quickly recap, Porsha, I think she's sad. I think she's bitter Betty. I don't think that we know the truth about what really happened between Porsha and Drew. This whole, Drew and Dennis doing music together out of the blue. No, nothing happens out of the blue. Something happened, and they're not being honest about it. There's clearly an elephant in the room between Drew and Porsha. Maybe Drew and Porsha were hooking up and they had a falling out. Maybe it was a threesome. I don't know, because we do know Drew likes women, and we know Porsha likes women. I don't know. Something, maybe it was sexual, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But something happened between Porsha, Drew, Dennis, and Ralph, in my personal opinion, that created this. There's a reason why Dennis is working with Drew, and it has nothing to do with album sales. Something else is going on there. Like Kelli, I think she's holding back, but I think she's very strategic. 50 Cent is 50 Cent. Kenya, gosh, Kenya, I just wish she had healed more before she responded, because she did the absolute most. Shamea, I like Shamea. Oh, and Shamea, I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it, because Shamea loves to body shame people. Like the whole talking about, Angela's Michael Jackson nose, apologizing for it, but then being shady as hell in the confessional, talking about he and all her corny jokes. Like, Shamea is so corny. I don't like short hair on Shamea. No, it's not the look. It's not the look. I think she should go longer or something. I'm not liking the short hair, and I'm not body shaming her. I'm just saying I don't like her haircut. That's all. So stop talking about people's noses, Shamea. It's not nice. Not nice at all. Had this woman so insecure, she's out here getting Botox in her nose, and her nose is blowing up because you're body shaming her on TV about it. Isn't that sad? Like 2 episodes ago, she's being body shamed about her nose, and then now we see her going to getting Botox in her face, and her face having a reaction to it because you made her so insecure about her face. Like, that's not cool. Do better. Do better. Okay? Love Angela. Britt, like I said before, I think she's a big fat liar. However, and Britt to me also, same note as Mia from Potomac, who I also think Mia is not going to return to Potomac. And, I think Britt would be better on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. I think that would be a better casting fit. Britt was also supposed to be the host of a VH1 show that Stevie J was doing. It was called like Penthouse Palace or something like that. I think that would work for her, because she looks like she became, like, she did a built to body, like she wanted to morph into like a Nicki Minaj looking person, because she looks and talks and sounds just like Nicki Minaj. So I think she's giving more Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. She's giving more VH1. I'm not sure this is the group for Britt. With that being said, like I said before, I do not agree with trying to shame or embarrass or take down a woman for any choices she chooses to make with her body, whether it's selling the cat or not. I don't think that should be used against a woman. I personally would never do it. That's not for me. But I also would never try to dehumanize or demean or disregard or, hurt another woman because that's the choice she made, So there's that. I do think Britt's lying. That's just my opinion on it. But at the same time, that's her truth to share if and when she wants to. Nobody deserves your truth in that sense. She doesn't have to tell anybody what she chose to do with her body or not to do with her body. She's not hurting anybody. It's nobody's business. You know what I mean? As long as she's not hurting you with the choices she's made with her own body, mind your business, Drew. Okay? Are you selling your kitty cat for a record deal with Dennis? Eating some hot dogs over there for some record deals? I'm not saying you are by any means. But again, I don't think that's cute to do that to someone. Anyway, there's that. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm enjoying this season. I'm looking forward to more. So with that, I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come up. But if not, and again, no pressure at all, only come up if you want to. I will take your candy cane questions and comments. All right. Hey, Darren. Darren says, hey, Candy. Hey, love. Kathy Hickey says, I cannot stand Kenya more. What she did on The Apprentice with stealing that phone was disgraceful. Get rid of her. That's why I don't watch Atlanta. You know, Kathy, you're right. I mean, I think that Kenya has displayed very despicable behavior. You know, pulling out the chair from oh, what's her name? Kim. Was it Kim? When she pulled out the chair on Kim and taking the phone and everything. I agree with you. I also think that Kenya is very threatened by beautiful Black women. I think she feels very threatened by them. She was also very mean to Garcelle, you know, saying, oh, Garcelle's playing their race card because she was up Kyle Richards' butt. So Garcelle, or not Garcelle, Kenya has moved very shady and very weird. I agree with that 100%. And I do think that there should have been consequences for what she did to Britt. And I think when you do bad things and there's no consequences for you, you get shocked when there's finally a consequence. So there's that. So I agree with you on that one. Darren says she should be able to attend the reunion, in my opinion. I agree with you on that. I do agree. I do think that Kenya should be able to attend the reunion. I don't think she did anything that was so. I don't think she did anything that was physically threatening. So I don't think there's any reason why she can't attend the reunion. So I agree. Tay says both women were wrong, and I would have loved to see Kenya at the reunion to share her side of the story. And I feel like Kenya took accountability for her side of things, but Britt has not. I agree. I agree with that. I do think that Kenya has taken way more accountability, and she's recognized that, yeah, I went too far, what I did was wrong, and this is the consequences of my actions. I do think she should be allowed at the reunion as well. The reason why I think Bravo is going so hard on Kenya is because they don't want her to have any credibility if she sues them. Because, I mean, you know, if I work at Walmart and my coworker at Walmart comes in and says, hey, Candy, this is why I have pews for people like you and my coworkers. You best believe we're calling 911, and that person's going to be arrested for making threats. So why should that be any different? Again, I think Bravo executives and producers dropped the ball. They didn't take what she said seriously, and it escalated to this point, and now they're trying to cover themselves. SW says, agree. Even after printing it and look at it after that, and look at it after did not even stop her from moving forward. Yeah, it's like what Kenya did took too much effort and too many steps where she had too many opportunities to wake the F up and not do it. This also, sorry. This also is an example of you need to have people in your camp, whether they are your people you employ or your friends, who are willing to check you. Why did nobody in Kenya's world tell her not to do this? This is why you cannot be surrounded by yes people if you want to succeed in life. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. And if you live enough, there will be times where you could be a good person, but have tunnel vision on a very, very bad idea. And if you don't have people in your life who can hold you accountable in the moment and say, hey, Candy, this is a really bad idea. Hey, Candy, maybe you shouldn't do that. Let's talk about this. Let's work it out. If you don't have people in your life to tell you no, this is how you end up like a lot of people in this world who have enablers, whether it's with drugs or poor decisions or violence or whatever the case may be, business choices, whatever it is. If you don't have like a lot of celebrities, right, who are only surrounded by yes people and they become addicts or they become whatever you know what I mean. You don't have people in your life to say no to you. Like her assistant didn't say, hey, Kenya, maybe I'm not going to go to Kinko's to pick this up. Like maybe we're going to just like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you not have anybody in your life to check you? If you don't have anybody in your life to tell you no, get some. Or have conversations with the people you trust and say, listen, You hold me accountable. Because why did no one in Kenya's life say this isn't a good idea? Darren says, Kenya could have taken a different approach. I agree 100%. That's what I agree. That's why I was saying, like, Kenya's response to Brit really wasn't about Brit. I think she was just going through a lot, and there was a part of her that was self-sabotaging herself. Because Kenya could have got Brit back a million different ways, a million different times, at a million different times, right? But the fact that she did it, the way she did it, and when she did it, and where she did it, that's a ticky boom boom in Kenya's mind. That's someone who is sabotaging themselves. That really had nothing to do with Brit. When you think about it from a psychological standpoint. Sure, the posters were of Brit, but the level that Kenya went, the effort that she went, and the fact that she did it on her own launch day, psychologically, subconsciously, she was sabotaging herself. And she needs to look into that. Same exact reason why Brit went after Kenya in the first place. Kenya didn't do anything to Brit. But in Brit's mind, Kenya's coming for me. No, she wasn't. She was playing you dust. She didn't care. She was actually trying to have conversation with you, talking about your engagement ring. That was the whole beef between Brit and Kenya only happened in Brit's own mind. That's why I'm saying these are two women who are dealing with their own demons and projecting it onto each other, when the truth is it really has nothing to do with the other person. It's their own stuff. And then Bravo doesn't care. They drop the ball. Tay says both Kenya and Brit should have been fired for their respective actions. I agree, but that's the thing. I think that if Bravo had actually done the investigation in real time, Kenya would have never reacted the way she did. And there's no way, again, this is just my opinion, I could be wrong, but there's no way in hell you're going to tell me Bravo did a full investigation into what Brit said, and there was no mention of it on the show. None of the girls mentioned it. Brit's lying, talking about she lost her license. Angela checked her and said, "Oh, really? Under what cause?" It went from "I lost my license" to "now I'm being investigated." None of the women said that there was any Bravo investigation. There was no blank screen with text saying Bravo investigated. All we saw Bravo saying, after Kenya's actions, we decided no longer to film with her. Thought they were doing something. Where was the message saying that they investigated the pew pew allegations and found that everything was safe? All we saw was Brit with no makeup forcing out these tears. Her mother came to film with her, and her mother looked like she was tired of it. Like, this is a story she's heard 100,000 times. Ain't no way you telling me that this was the first time Brit's mother heard about her dipping it and doing it X, Y, and Z. Brit's own mother looked tired as hell. Like, here we go again, Brit. So, again, I think if Bravo did their job and investigated, I don't think Kenya would have responded the way she did. Also, Kenya and Brit, I don't think should have filmed together until there was a private sit down, filmed obviously, but a one-on-one with them discussing what happened. I don't think that they should, and again, that's why I don't think that Bravo did an in real time investigation, because there was just no talk of it. Doesn't make any sense. All right. Patty Marino says the producers effed up and should have figured out a way to keep Kenya. Brit is not interesting at all. The show is not worth watching. I feel bad for Shamea as well. I agree, Patty. I agree. Like, I'm enjoying this season, to be honest, and I'm gonna keep watching it. I want to see what happens to everything, but I do agree with the Kenya thing and like the Brit. Like, again, Brit should be on VH1 or VH1. Love in Atlanta. And I do think that the producers could have found a way to bring Kenya back. Maybe suspend her for a couple of episodes. Maybe make it a teachable moment and talk about things. I just think that the Bravo producers are just trying to cover themselves. But they're not but they don't I don't know what's going on with them. They honestly, Bravo, if you're watching, you should just go ahead and hire me as a consultant, because what you guys are doing over there is a hot mess. Look what happened to Garcelle at Beverly Hills. If I was consulting on that show, that would not have happened, because I called that a year ago when I said that Lisa Rinna was pulling the strings and that she was behind the scenes doing all this stuff after she got fired. Thank God YouTube timestamps videos. My video was timestamped. Now all of a sudden we're coming out with blind items confirming it. And the whole reunion, like, Bravo, just call me at this point. Just call your girl, okay? Open for business. Young Rich Skinny says, I'm really enjoying the season of Atlanta. It's been so good to me. Just bring Kenya back and Nene. Yeah, that's the thing. At this point, I don't think Bravo's going to bring Nene or Kenya back. You know, Nene sued them, and the way she went about it, I don't think Bravo or NBC are ever going to mess with her again. Versus, y'all remember Mariah Hook. I love Mariah from Married to Medicine. She's also sued Bravo, did it in the correct way. She won. Word on the street is that Mariah is coming back to Married to Medicine, the show she created, and she's also pitching more shows to Bravo. So you can sue a network and still work with them if you do it the correct way. You can fall out with them, you know? So we'll see. Bravo, who says, Bravo is just saving face per usual. Exactly. Ain't no way you're telling me they did an investigation. Ain't no way. Young Rich says, I can do without Drew, to be honest. You know, I'm tired of the Drew Ralph conversation. Like, I fast forwarded those scenes. We get it. Ralph, again, I'm not a doctor, allegedly is a narcissist. To me, he seems mean as hell. Drew also seems mean as hell. Like when the cameras aren't up, it seems like they go toe to toe. I'm tired of their whole divorce situation. Like, he's in the basement, she's upstairs. We get it. Kind of tired of that. Yeah. So we'll see. Darren says Porsha's YouTube channel is entertaining. Tate says Brit Easy can get off my Edie can get off my TV. Yeah, I don't need Brit. I don't. Young Rich Skinny says, I feel like Brit Edie has been truthful about being a, because it's been out there for years and she's been talking about it before Housewives. Well, all Brit said was that she did webcam for 1 week and she was caught in an intimate moment as a teenager with a boyfriend. That's all Brit has said she's done. Now, do I believe that she's done more than just be a webcam girl for 1 week? In my opinion, yeah. But also, I don't really think that's my business. So when it comes to whether or not I think she's lying about her past alleged, SCX work or whatever the case may be, transactional, sexual situations, do I think she's being 100% honest about it? No. Do I think it's my business? No. I think when it comes to that, you can lie all day, all you want. What she did or what she does with her body is her business. And even though she's on a reality TV show, I don't think she owes us that, because it's not relevant to anything. She's not hurting anybody. She's not, stop, So to me, when it comes to that, I don't care if she's not being 100% honest. I don't think it was just 1 week webcam stuff. But again, it's not my business. It's not my place. It's not hurting anybody. Patty says Brit has to go. Darren says, I like Mike, but I do feel like he needs to take it down a notch. Patty says, good point. Darren says, I love Shamea. Tata says, I'm enjoying the newbies except Brit. I agree. I think the newbies are great. I love Kelli. Angela's my girl. I want to be friends with Angela. Like, I want to go shopping with her. I want her to be like sweating. I want to go like to brunch and have like a boozy brunch. I want to go to, to Neiman's, to Saks, like let's just go and like have fun. Like I am here for Angela. She is so fun to me. Like I would love, like this would be like a such a fun brunch. Me, Angela, Jennifer Tilly, Lisa Vanderpump. Who else do I want? We can keep it for that for now. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of other people, but I just think that would be so much fun. So much fun. Okay. Tay says, I love that they are all equals. Exactly. That's what I was saying before. Like, the reason why I like this dynamic, even though Brit can go, there's no queen bee. There's no one that, and there's also no producer pet. Whereas I do think that Porsha in the past has been a producer pet, especially on Ultimate Girls Trip, maybe some past, Atlanta, whatever the case may be. She loves being a producer pet, but I don't think she is this season. And I do feel like all the women are on equal footing there. And the newbies are making it very clear, like, we're not here to placate, we're here to play. And so I like that dynamic. And yes, there are people who are friends, but it's not like there's no faux Fox 5. You know what I mean? There's sure people have side conversations and people flip and they flop and they have whatever the case is, but there's no dark, evil coven of women coming together, So I like that. Darren says, I honestly enjoy watching Angela and Charles. I love Angela and Charles. And did he have a baby on her? Maybe, maybe not. Who cares? She doesn't. Therefore, I don't. Like, again, that's why I love Angela. She's kooky. She's wacky. She's rich. She 0 F's given. She's running the airport, sweating from menopause. She shows up, wants a cocktail. She's like, what's the problem? Like, what do you, like, she's very like Samantha from Sex and the City. Like, what's the problem? Like, what do you mean? Like, you didn't say I couldn't invite Drew. Like, stop it. Like, I'm obsessed with Angela. I love her. Mary Duda 44 says, excuse me, you guys. Angela should have said yes and exactly. Mia didn't quit. She got fired. And she did, she got fired. She did, but got the contract. She is flying back and forth. She's been living in Atlanta for a while. Yeah, I saw that, like, she's not coming back to Potomac and like, oh, maybe like an Atlanta crossover. No. If you're fired from Potomac, we don't need you on Atlanta. We already have Brit, and we're trying to get rid of her. So no, I don't think they'll bring her back. Or bring her on, rather. Tay says, love Kelli. Me too. Mary says, damn typos. All good, sweetheart. Darren says, I like Kelli so far. I like Kelli too. No Karen, no Candace, no Mia. Damn, Giselle won. I don't know if Giselle won. Because she's still Giselle and living her life, but I don't know. I just think that the show needed a shakeup. Mel says, I'm Mary plus no Monique, LOL. Shamea trying to get the approval of Porsha is going to be the downfall of her beautiful life. Look, Mary, you hit the nail on the freaking head. When you have all of these things, the husband and the kids and the cars and the house and all that, but you lack the internal foundation, it makes it a lot easier to lose it all. A lot easier to lose it all. And just like you said, when you're seeking the validation of someone who fundamentally does not like you, that's a recipe for disaster. I'm going to have a cough drop in, so I apologize for any sounds you may hear. It's my little voice. Okay. Tay says, Angela called that out with Shamea up Porsha's butt 100%. And that's when Shamea was like, oh, your Michael Jackson nose. Shut up, Shamea, with your cornball, corny self. Go moonwalk out of here. I will take Angela all day, every day. Okay? Leave her alone. All right? Ugh. But she was right. Mary says, Shamea need to treat Porsha like treat Melissa. Keep her to arm's length. 100%. 100%. But until Shamea works on her own self-worth and self-love, she will always seek Porsha's validation because she does not validate herself. She literally said it on the show. She says, I like to focus on other people's problems, so I don't have to focus on mine. That is the core of being a codependent, low self-esteem, low self-worth person. And I'm not saying that to be mean to Shamea. I'm just saying that as the truth and observation. She said it herself. And she's not going to be able to enjoy the husband and the money and everything until she learns to love herself and put herself first and all of that. Because it also seems like, and it goes back to what we're talking about with like the kids and everything, seems like her husband is the one really driving that train for a big family. But clearly her body and her mind and her spirit are suffering because of it. And if you break the mother trying to bring in the children, it's not worth it, especially when you already have to. Young Rich and Skinny says, everybody calling Shamea corny. Shamea is corny. She's corny as hell. She's a cornball. I like her. I think she's a sweetheart, but she's corny. SW says, that might be insecurity. It's 100%. Darren Hood said, Shamea has that Taurus energy in her. I guess so. I don't believe in astrology, but I guess so. Young Rich Skinny says, African culture have a whole bunch of kids. It sounds like something he wants. But again, you cannot put that above the well-being of the mother, you know? Especially when like all the signs are there saying stop. You know, your surrogate got breast cancer while carrying your child, and you still want to roll the dice? Like, when is enough? And then also, think about the child. You know, her youngest baby, I think Shiloh, had, you know, complications and has to have surgery and everything. You know, thank God she's going to be, you know, it seems like she's going to be okay and like get through everything, you know. But why would you not only put Shamea at risk, but the potential of also putting any new children at risk? Was it the surrogate's breast cancer, or was it something else? Who knows? It just seems very crazy to me. Andre says, my name is Andre Shannon. Hi, Andre Shannon. I like the newbies at Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16. I enjoy Angela Oakley. She is standing on business. Brittany Edie business is Allstate Insurance. Alangela Oakley. Andre says, Angela Oakley, you are in real estate agent and flip houses. Brittany Edie does not flip houses. She's renovations to her and her husband owns. Okay. Mary is sending love. Andre says, Brittany Edie's making renovations to her and her husband home. Darren says, I mean, Cynthia's just there pretty much until Phaedra comes in. Exactly. A placeholder. 100%. And then also, Cynthia was there to sort of be the beta to Kenya, right? When Kenya was on the show, Cynthia was kind of there to talk to her, to push storylines with her. But, you know, just sort of there. Mary says, Ralph and Drew are clowning us hard. 100%. 100%. I'm so tired of Ralph and Drew. Darren says, I'm loving the confessionals this season. Andre says, me too. Mary says, Brit's biggest crime is she's boring and is giving Teddy. 100%. Mary says, we should be invested, but we are not. Darren Hood says, I've heard she's coming in episode 12. Tay says, Phaedra on Married to Medicine sucked. Mary says, May as well said she was dating Dr. Chocolate. Exactly. Mary says, if Candy plotted with them. Candy, and trust me, I love Candy. I would never cross Candy. No, thank you, ma'am. But it is obvious. Candy plotted with, in my opinion, because don't come at me, Candy. You have way more money than I do for legal fees, so don't come at me. This is my opinion. I think Candy and Dr. Jackie and Heavenly and Dr. Simone, I don't think Toya all got together and was like, we're going to go after Phaedra. We're going to be nice, nasty. We're going to set her up with the Apollo situation. We're going to, you know, all that stuff. I hope that Phaedra did not pay a penny to Dr. Jackie's charity. Like, excuse me, Dr. Jackie? She's diabolical. Number one, she got Heavenly to organize the entire charity that she was only doing because she was trying to do reputation rehab because she got called out for being anti-Black. She was very anti-Black when it came to Black women vocalizing their pain and their trauma and their suffering during, after, prior to childbirth, and our mortality rates as Black women, our mortality rates are sky high. She got called out because she's very anti-Black. Oh, Black women are loud and obnoxious and they're being dramatic and blah, 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 blah. She got called out for her comments on it when she was trying to be fake as hell with VP Harris. Shout out to, I love Kamala, so this is nothing against Kamala. I love Kamala Harris. Nothing against her. But she was being fake as hell when the vice president was like, oh, I want you to come on, to be a part of the whole stuff, and she got called out. So Dr. Jackie's whole charity about, raising money for Black women mortality was her own reputation rehab. She got Dr. Heavenly to organize the whole thing, and then she got Phaedra to pay the donation part. Why would Phaedra have to put up $60K or whatever the hell the number was? Why would Phaedra have to pay $60K? If Dr. Jackie is the chairwoman of the charity or the face of the charity, whatever the case may be, why wouldn't Dr. Jackie, out of her own pocket, since it's her reputation rehab, pay the difference? The target goal was $100K. They came up with $40K. $60K is left over. Why didn't Dr. Jackie pay it? Why is she looking to Phaedra to pay it? Evil, diabolical witch. And I hope Phaedra never paid, because Dr. Jackie should have been the one to pay. She shouldn't be doing all this performative crap. She should have just wrote them a check, point blank, period. Anyway. Andrea says, Brittany Edie is not boring. Bravo chose 3 women that nobody knows making an impact on Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16. I don't think that Brittany's necessarily boring, but I would say that I'm not sure she's the best fit. Adam says, can you tell all was fire? Hey, Adam. Darren says, it's hard to watch Phaedra on Married to Medicine, but she did spoke about how she felt in an unaired clip when it came out at the reunion. No, she let them have it. No lies detected. I agreed with every word Phaedra spoke about those women at the reunion. Andre says the women are doing an excellent job with 7 episodes in. I mean, yeah, I'm going to be watching. I like the show. Adam says Candy has power. You're living the life when you get checks from Ed Sheeran and Warner Brothers. That part. Mary says allegedly swingers. Young says Candy, that Porsha and Drew were scissor sisters. Again, alleged, my opinion, in a fantasy world. It's giving something happened that they're not saying. It's not about the pasta. If you know, it's not about the pasta. Okay? Mary said, in my mind, I believe it. Mia got fired. She didn't get the contract. Yup. SW says, that's sad. Young Rich says, Mia confirmed she's not returning. Yup. Darren says, Mia isn't returning to Rob. Candy, she made an announcement. Yup. Andre said, well, it took 7 years to hire 3 women on Real House of Atlanta season 16. Mary says, they're going to start filming this week. Adam says, Real House will be on pause. Otherwise, Giselle and Dr. Wendy will have to pretend they are besties. I know. I wonder, is Ashley coming back? Because Ashley, what has she been doing on the show? Andre says, I do not blame Mia Thornton walked away from reality TV. Mia got fired, not as back. Mary says they were waiting to see if the judge would approve Karen's request, but since not, they're going to start filming soon. Oop. Andre says good for her engagement, was very messy for Mia. Yep. Kim Fields. Yep. That Kenya did the chair with. Adam says, yeah, Kenya getting disinvited from the union is BS. Are we not forgetting hostile candidates from Potomac? Yeah, that's the thing. That again is why I think Bravo is only doubling down on being so mean and excluding Kenya is in case anything happens legally, they are going to be like, no, because I think they think that if they acquiesce in any way to Kenya and what she went through, and any way makes Kenya the victim in the situation, they open themselves up to legal liability, which isn't the case. They're legally liable no matter what. If I was Kenya, I would get myself a very good lawyer and I would sue their pants off, because they already fired me. They're already smearing my name. It's already clear they're not going to hire me back. So what am I protecting? What am I protecting? And do it the way Mariah Hook did it. Do it the right way. Get your paperwork in order. Subpoena people. Get your affidavits. Get your evidence. Because there's no way. Again, this is just my opinion. Bravo, NBC, don't come after me. This is just my opinion. There is no way Bravo did an investigation into Brit's pew pew comments in real time. No way. And they should have. Like I said before, if I work at Walmart and I'm talking to my coworker and they say, yeah, that's why I have pew pews for coworkers like you, you better believe in real time, the Walmart manager is going to have an investigation. Call the police, take him to HR. You know what I mean? But clearly, based on the footage, that didn't happen. Now, all of a sudden, Bravo did an investigation. How and when? Get out of here. Get out of here. Now, on the flip side, that might open up Kenya to legal liability given her response to it. I don't know if that is legally revenge porn, since she's saying those pictures are already out there in the world. I don't know the legalities behind it. Morally, it's messed up and horrible. Legally, I don't know those nuances. So she's going to have to weigh those pros and cons. Okay. Mary says she could just have shown the pic on the phone to the other women. It's the printing on the posters was too much, but I live. Yeah, it was. Kenya just lost her mind. It was the hiring of the private investigator. It was the gathering of the pictures. It was the printing on the poster boards. It was the writing and the memorization of the entire speech she gave. It wasn't just, oh, here are some posters. She had a PowerPoint presentation, basically the way I do. And she gave a whole dissertation on this woman at the opening of her spa. Girl, bye. Hey, Mel, I see you. I'm going to bring you up in 1 second, babe. Mary says, JK people, JK. They didn't want to pay Kenya the money she was costing them after 10 seasons. See, I don't think so. Because if they didn't want to pay her the money, they just wouldn't have brought her back. I think that Bravo / Andy, whoever you want to call it, they wanted Kenya back. That's why they hired her back. If they didn't want Kenya, or if they didn't want to pay her, they just wouldn't have brought her back. They had enough newbies and everything else, or they could have got somebody else. They wanted her back. I think the only reason why they let her go was because of the situation. Okay. Young Rich says, can I speak? I don't think either Kenya or Brit should be fired. I think they should have done a one-on-one sit-down. I hope Kenya is at the reunion. Yeah. Mary says, but low-key, Drew and Ralph's scamming personas kind of match each other. I'm waiting for them to get back together. Young Rich says, I like both Brit and Kenya. They have a lot of similarities. Then I think they could have been big sister, little sister vibe, but Brit insecurity came to play. Exactly. I think that Brit's insecurity sabotaged their friendship before it could even develop. And I think that Kenya was going through some stuff. I agree. I do think that there should have been some sort of, I think both Brit and Kenya, respectively, of what they did, yes, there should have been consequences and repercussions. I don't think Brit should have gotten off scot-free, and I don't think Kenya should have gotten fired. I think they could have met somewhere in the middle. whether it's a suspension, whether it's a sit down, whether it's a teachable moment. There could have been somewhere in the middle, but the extremes don't make sense. Britt taking zero accountability and getting to stay on the show with zero consequence after what she said and did doesn't make any sense. And then Kenya being completely villainized and fired is also an extreme. They could have found a way in the middle where both women took accountability and had consequences and could have continued to film. Mary says, why is Britt lying? Literally, Lars' entire storyline for the comeback season was OF. Come on. True. Angela, the Grand Dame of Atlanta. Hey, Mel, you want to share real quick, babe? Or not quick, but as long as you want.
Hey, excuse me. Oh, but hold on. Excuse me 1 second.
Okay, take your time, babe.
Hello.
Hello, love. Sound off.
Hello. Yeah, I was watching, but I feel like I missed some of the things you were saying. I was all over. I was doing some things back in the back here, so I'm sorry about that. Yeah, listen, I'm happy that you covering Atlanta. I'm happy about that. And yeah, I think that this weekend has been filled with a lot of Kenya and just all over social media and stuff like that about what people feel on whatever side. And I think that what I've kind of come to a conclusion with the situation is that I'm just surprised with Kenya, and I mean, the event was terrible. The event as far as the pictures and all of that was not good. But if I was to talk to Kenya, I would love to ask her. You were physically dragged by your hair on, as she said, and well, she didn't say that, but in her video she talked about being attacked. You were physically attacked, and I remember that. Years after that event, I think that the way she handled that situation with Porsha was spot on. It was really good. She went to the police. She refused to film for a very long time. She really didn't pay Porsha any energy when after that physical attack. And then this is the thing that I really was surprised by with Kenya, with her with the pictures and everything. There was a moment, the very iconic moment with Miss Sheree, where she was just smiling and holding on to her drink and just smiling. It came to a meme at Kenya's housewarming, and Porsha came in uninvited. And I really brought that to the attention of a couple of my friends of mine. And that we was thinking about this scene. Porsha came into Kenya's home uninvited, and she still didn't feel safe with her after that because Porsha was sort of wishy-washy. She really didn't want to apologize. She kind of was, saying that she did it because of the bullhorn. She just made a lot of excuses. And Kenya was like, you know what? I just don't want you in my home. And she left. And, and so I thought that would have been, I'm surprised that wasn't the route that she took with Britt. Because first off, with Porsha, obviously it was more physical. It was more dangerous. It was more violent. And when the first couple of meetings they had was pretty shaky. It was pretty shaky because it could have went either way. Up with the housewoman came, that wasn't as scary. It wasn't scary, but there were some moments after the fight when they first was meeting, it was really dicey because Kenya was still angry, so was Porsha. So the way they handled that situation with these two women who were very angry and did not like each other was brilliant on all parties. So I was really surprised that Kenya didn't sort of go back and say, hey, I dealt with this before. I dealt with a woman that I felt.
What it is?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I think it's a couple of things. I think first off, we're in a different time. So I think that when somebody now says pew pew or does revenge porn, it's a different time in society. Whereas when everything was happening with Kenya and the other women was years ago, and we were just learning how to deal with certain types of violence on television, whether it's verbal violence, physical violence, whatever the case may be. So I think that we're dealing with a different time, society, and just the world is in a different place. And then on top of that, I think Kenya is also in a different place. And that's what I was saying. You probably missed it when you're doing your stuff. I was saying that Kenya's reaction to Brit had nothing to do with Brit, in my opinion. I think that Kenya is in a different place in life. You know, she's co-parenting with a very difficult, you know, ex-husband, Mark. He played the hell out of her. She is getting older, becoming a woman of a particular age. Now she's on a reality show and all these younger, hotter girls are coming in. Brit's coming in and giving her attitude for no reason. You know, when Kenya's kind of in the place of like, I poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into this brick and mortar hair care spa. People aren't coming to it the way I thought they would. Is this going to work? Is it not going to work? These are all very valid and stressful times and identity crisis times where it's like, you know, my marriage didn't work. I have a daughter now. I put all this money into something that I'm not sure is going to work or not. I'm coming into my, you know, old job, but I'm the old person on the scene. And all these other women are coming for my peach. And who knows what else is going on in her life, because clearly something's going on with her. She's going through something. You can see it when she talks to Kelli, when she's talking to Cynthia, in her face, even her whole demeanor of coming into the show, kind of cooler, calmer, wants to be the big auntie. To me, that all signals either you've been through some real stuff and now you're in the point in your life where you're like, I cannot even be bothered by this because I actually know what trauma is. I know what this is. This is play. I'm not even bothered by this. You know what I mean? When you see a person who's really been through some stuff where the stupid stuff don't even faze them anymore. Or you see someone who's actually going through some stuff where the petty stuff doesn't faze them. I kind of feel like that's where Kenya was at. And so I think that when Britt was, you know, first attacking her about the ring conversation, which was completely in Britt's own head. There was no beef between Kenya and Britt except for the one she created in her head based on her own insecurities. Because I think Britt came in very, very insecure. To me, Britt is a Kenya fangirl who wasn't able to, who came in with preconceived notions, but out of her own insecurity, everything Kenya said, she took it as a personal threat based on her own stuff. That it really had nothing even to do with Kenya. And so I think that when you are in a place of, I'm already tapped out, I'm already going through something or have something done, I'm in a certain place in my life, and somebody keeps messing with you, you might crash out in a different way. Whereas I think Kenya versus Porsha, that was a different time. That was a totally different place in Kenya's life. You know, Kenya versus, I forgot the other person you said, I forgot, but you know what I mean? I just think it's a different time, which again, where it says, you know, don't try people because you don't know what people are going through. So to me, I think that Kenya was just in a different place in her life where she crashed out because she was already tapped out. You know, this is almost like what, 5 years, 10? I mean, we're on season 16. You know, you know, so I just think that I think it was a perfect storm of two women who are in different places in their life, but who are both facing different types of insecurity, who happen to be put into a situation where they cross paths, where normally they probably wouldn't have happened that way. But I think that Britt lashing out at Kenya had nothing to do with Kenya. It was her own insecurities. And I think the way that Kenya crashed out really had nothing to do with Britt. Had to do with what she was going through.
And you see that makes sense. But you see the problem I have is that that's not what Kenya is saying. She's basically on her social media talking to her Team Twirl and other people like that, which I was a member of a Team Twirl early on.
Yeah, but the thing is,
well, can I say this? I was going to say this.
Mm-hmm.
What you said, I wish that Kenya would say that. Is what I'm basically saying. That because now, when I watch her video, she is going down a checklist about who said what to who and all this. And what I feel is that I wish that she would talk the way that you're speaking about it right now. I think that come up there and say that I was triggered or that I was vulnerable, because as a fan, or at least as a person who used to be a fan, she's talking about evidence that we don't have. I mean, that even with this idea of somebody using this wording, we caught it on tape, But then she put extra stuff in her video, say, oh, well, she used this wording. Everything that Kenya's saying, even the idea that maybe the woman did have a weapon, I want to see the evidence so that way we can judge Britt accordingly. And right now, I don't
Mhm.
have, I don't have any of that. And I wish that Kenya would talk the way you're speaking, because that's mind blowing. It's mind blowing that this woman made so many good. She's such a smart woman, and that she was
Yeah.
able to play the game so well for all these years, and that this woman, who we don't really know Britt that well, is now going to go down in history connected to Kenya at least for another couple of years. It's not going to really
Mhm.
die off. They're going to be connected the same way her and Porsche were connected for a couple of years after that incident. So I think it's tragic. I think it's sad. I'm still shocked. I'm still confused about the decisions that she made. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the way you describe it, I wish that you were on her team. I really do, because
Yeah.
then you would be able to humanize and know that, Kenya, if you don't have the physical evidence in your hand, I'd rather know your mental mindset, like Candy is saying about it right now. I'd rather know that. I'd rather know really without you being defensive or shady or talking about
Mhm.
evidence you don't have in front of you. I actually don't care about all that stuff. I just want to know. I was confused. I was very confused because, as I said, there was other ways that I've seen her handle it in the past, and the way she handled it now, I was confused by it. And hearing it from you, Candy, is
Mhm.
wonderful. But I wish that somebody like you was on her team, so that way she can really get deep in there and then express that and be like, you know what, girl, listen, it wasn't even about you. And I'm having a lot of
Yeah.
frustrations with Bravo. I have a rocky relationship with Bravo. You did annoy me, Britt. You really did annoy me. I wasn't scared, but you got on my nerves, and I thought I can, do a stunt or whatever. And in reality, I should have just kicked you out my event, because I really was very upset with Bravo for not featuring my establishment all these years. And I'm frustrated that they didn't really, do you the way I wanted them to, really go into detail about
Yeah.
that stuff. But I think that I wish that somebody like you was on her side
Yeah.
there in her circle to help her communicate better, because I'm just don't I don't have nothing to root for
Right.
with Lydia right now. I can't I want to, I'm desperate to root for her,
Mhm.
but I don't have she's not presenting me anything to root for.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the reason why she's not saying it is because I don't think that it's a subconscious driver. So I don't even think she is consciously aware of why she did what she did. And until she does the work and probably gets some help to unpack what's really going on with her, she's going to continue to operate from ego. And ego always has to say, in order for me to be right, you have to be wrong. So both of these women are operating out of ego. And so instead of saying, you know what, I was in a bad place and my response was out of my own wounding, she's going to operate from ego. And so she's going to make all these excuses that don't really sure make sense, but they don't make sense because she's fighting to be right
I agree.
rather than fighting to be human. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mel. Hey, Johnny, you want to share?
Hey, I am going to share, but I'm so upset I missed the live part of it, and I had the
Oh,
notifications on, and it did not send through. I don't know what's going on.
what?
Yes,
YouTube, get it together. Maybe do unnotify and then re-notify, like reset it.
yeah, because I have so much to say, and I'm so upset I didn't hear what's your takes. I
Oh,
knew your
you're
takes.
okay. I'm gonna mute myself and I'm gonna let you just go and say whatever you want to say.
Okay, so I would say I am enjoying the season. I am enjoying the season. I do. And the reason I'm enjoying the season because it gives me a lot to talk about and a lot of nuances to talk about. And I feel like we have not got that from Atlanta in a long time. So I will say, you know, the Kenya and Brit situation was like such an unfortunate event. Like that was so unfortunate, especially with Kenya being more established in the being with Kenya being more established in the Housewives franchise. I would want better for her. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why she did what she did, but she didn't have to do what she did. It was so I feel like she's too smart for her to do that. But I heard like the tidbits what you're saying based off of ego, and that's basically what it was. Um, and she really went way too far. And I have a theory that, like, she was gun ho of not apologizing to Britt. So that's why they got rid of her. Whereas Britt, you seen like the very next episode, she was like crying, saying she took it too far, doing damage control, all this other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I'm thinking Britt was reprimanded for the, pow pow comment behind the scenes, and that's why she was on the apology tour like the very next episode. But I honestly do not like Britt at all. She's very, I don't know, she seems like very like shallow, and everything seems like revolves around her value revolves around having a man, and if you don't have one, you're jealous, or her looks, you're jealous when things like is things can be deeper
Mm-hmm.
than that.
Yeah, very superficial. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I see like anytime she thinks somebody's come for her, the first thing she goes for is like her sisters, when it was like, oh, she was jealous because she had a man, and it was just like, no, these are like your sisters. You don't pay your sisters any attention, or have a genuine bond with them because you have a man, because he's always around. You're always calling him, and I don't think until and maybe it's like they were like, I heard they were like newly married right before the show, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I agree
I
with you.
but she's probably like in the honeymoon stage, where the annoying honeymoon stage when your friend just disappear off the face of the earth once they like find a new partner. um I do like Shamea, but I really want her to stop being a people pleaser with Portia. And I have so many comments. I used to love Portia down, but I have so many comments about Portia. I feel like she's being like a very
Mm-hmm.
terrible friend. I feel like she is dragging this Drew and Dennis situation because, honestly speaking, she did took that woman husband in Hennessy. And if you've seen the Portia
That
Family
part.
Matter,
That part. Yes, that's why nobody takes Portia seriously.
yeah,
Like, I
and
called Portia the cheerleader who peaked in high school, but like we've all graduated. Like you don't even go
yeah,
for Portia. Yeah.
and this is coming from somebody who loves Portia. You know what I mean? Like, I thought she was always a cute girl. She would basically. She's fun, she's smiling, but I do also think that fun and smiling helps her get away with a lot of things. And yeah, I really want her to do better because at the end of the day, I feel like she knew Shamia since high school, and I feel like it's sad that Shamia has to get on the show through Candy, and you're her best friend since childhood. So there's that. Drew, I don't take Drew serious. Like, whatever she do is like, I'm just here for the ride for her. I'm so happy she is putting her foot down with Ralph, because Ralph gets on my nerves. Like, anytime he comes, he just
Yeah.
like irks my nerve. And my favorite, right, actually, like my favorite so far is Angela, but I feel like she's hiding something. So
Maybe she's hiding the baby,
yeah,
but I'm okay with it. And I
I-
agree with you. Angela's my favorite. Like I want to just hang out with her. I want to
yeah,
go
she is
shopping
so.
with Angela. I want to go to brunch with Angela. Like Charles had a baby on the side. She doesn't care. Therefore, I don't care. Like we're good. We're Gucci.
And it's really not tea, because I think Wendy Williams said something about it like years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really tea if it was on national television. We just got a name to her face now.
Exactly.
So, oh, and the only person I didn't talk about was
Yeah,
Kelly.
go ahead.
She grew on me, and that's it. I think Kelly's growing on me. I do think she came in a little hot, but I could see she has like a darkness to her, but she don't. She still is going strong through what she's going through. You know what I mean?
Yes, I said that Kelly was very strategic. She
Okay.
sort of sits in the cut and she listens and she watches. And I
Yeah.
agree. I also think that I think she's hiding a lot. I think she what she does is she talks about whatever happened with her abusive ex-husband. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah.
But I think that's stuff that's almost already out there. but she's not saying like the real stuff underneath. Like I think she's holding on to a lot. I think she has a lot of secrets and she's very strategic. Because watch her at the groups, she doesn't really say anything. She sits and she absorbs and she watches everything, but she doesn't really participate that much if you
Right.
really look at her. But I do like her. I do think she's cute and she's genuine and she's fun and she seems like a good time, but I think she is holding back. So I agree with your assessment.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really have much to say about Cynthia. I do think Cynthia was.
Me too.
I don't have much to say about her really. I do think like I want her and Ken to have a better friendship or whatever. And like I feel like what Cynthia said to Ken at the event is something I would have said. But like when it comes to like the press tour of it all, like watching it, she could have acknowledged that Britt was wrong as well instead of just keep saying Ken is wrong.
I think everybody's trying to keep their jobs.
Right.
So Cynthia's not going to go against what Bravo's narrative is because Cynthia needs to keep those 50 cents coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do not like Britt. I think that she's the only person I really don't care for real.
Agreed. I think Brit could go on like Love and Hip Hop.
Yeah.
Her and Mia. Bye.
Oh, Mia departure is gone. Mia,
Got
her
fired.
departure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's my take. I can't wait to like chat some more about it if y'all still staying up.
Yay. No, that's a great take. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Yeah. Hey Chanel, you wanna sound off?
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm entertained by all of your panelists and you obviously. So let's see. I'll start with Kenya. Listen, I ain't never liked Kenya from the go. Um just because for whatever reason Kenya is like she takes it too far with everything. So I feel
Mhm.
like because she's been allowed to not only allowed to take it too far, but also paid handsomely for doing iconic type stuff that she's done over the years that don't need to be done. So like for example, when she was doing whatever with the one lady, oh God, what's her name? She was always a friend of Tammy, not Tammy. What's her name? Something with the T.
Tanya?
Tanya?
Tanya,
Tanya.
Tanya.
Tanya,
Tanya.
Tanya. Remember when Tanya and the cookie lady thing? It was
Mhm.
just like you didn't have to do that. Like
Oh Lord.
you didn't have to do that. Like that was just you wanted her to
The
you wanted,
stunt.
in my opinion, to create doubt in this lady's mind about her relationship. And you're that way because you have this a-hole that was her husband. Like he's not treating you right. So then everybody else needs to get treated that way. So for me, I'm like, what did we expect? But what I found interesting, I don't know if you guys watched, she did some sort of, she has her own YouTube now or something. And I was like, okay, let me just listen. Let me just try. And I just felt some type of way about it because she was saying something like, oh, well, that was not Revenge P. And I'm like, I don't know every state, but I did look up the one in Georgia. And she's like, well, it was on the internet. And I feel like that's what her and all the other people out there in the zeitgeist wanted to hang their hat on. It's like, oh, well, there were pictures of her or video of her already out there. So it doesn't matter if it was already out there. The reason it's called Revenge P, is my understanding, is because you're using this sexual whatever situation to humiliate this person. That's the reason it's called Revenge P. And she's like, I didn't do that. It was already out there. I don't care that it was already out there. The reason that there's a law, there's a reason there's a law for it. So, or against it, or whatever you want to call it. So I just feel like it's hard for me to forgive and forget when you can't even take really full responsibility for what you did. And a lot of people on the internet, they're like, oh, she's so smart, she wouldn't have. And I'm like, no, that's calculated. You sat there, you were mad about whatever this lady did or said or whatever it was, and you felt some type of way. And I think my understanding is she went to HR or went to Bravo, and then she felt like they didn't do anything. So then she's like, okay, well, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I don't necessarily know that I believe that I'm going to just, since they're not going to do anything, I'm going to take matters into my own hands scenario, because I just feel like if Kenya felt like it was something so egregious she could really take them to court for, then she would have. She would have done what she's trying to do now then, but she wasn't really mad at Bravo, in my opinion. She felt like I've gotten away with whatever, and they're not going to do anything because, like she said, it's already out there. So I don't have any sympathy for Kenya. Period, point blank, end of story. I will say about the whole cast, after episode 1, I was like, I don't miss anyone. Like, I feel like everybody that's here could be here, and the show would go on. And I usually don't feel that way about Atlanta. I'm like always like, oh, I wish Nene was here, or oh, I wish this other person was there. In this cast, I'm like, they can keep them all here as far as I'm concerned. I think I would say I like Kelli the most. She just seems the most likable and she's pint sized, so I like her. I don't dislike Shamea. I think everything that first episode that she talked about going through, like with her challenges, with getting pregnant and having miscarriage and all that kind of stuff, that humanized her in a way that I never knew. So I was just like, all right, Shamea. So for me, she's like the front runner of the normal, what I would want out of a housewife. I know the young man before me was saying something like he doesn't like Brit because she's superficial, but let's just keep it a book. I have come to the Housewives initially because of the superficial. I want to know what it's like to ride in a private jet. I ain't rode in one yet. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have money like that. I mean, I have enough money, you know what I'm saying? I'd like to see that you can, just go to the store and drop nine stacks at Louis Vuitton or wherever. Like, I'm with it, because that's the type of stuff I like anyway in my real life. And I don't even have millions of dollars, but I still have Chanel and Louis and all of that. So I like to see that on my television. The jury's still out on Angela. I don't like her or dislike her. I just don't believe her marriage. For whatever reason, there's something about that it doesn't seem genuine to me. And I don't know if it seems like, because I feel like he's like, I don't think he's supportive. I don't know how to say it, but it just feels like he doesn't really support her to me. I could be wrong about that. We haven't seen Phaedra yet, so I don't have anything to say about Phaedra. I think we should give. Now, this is interesting. Y'all can tell me what y'all think, because Cynthia has confessionals, but Kenya doesn't. I think that's very interesting. Y'all don't have nothing of Kenya to say anything about anything. I even though I don't like Kenya, I still feel like she should be able to, on their network, be able to say at least what her thoughts were.
Well, I think because she got fired and they're basically cut ties with her, that's why.
No, I understand the why. I do get it. I do understand the why, but I'm saying from a watcher or viewer standpoint, I just would like to see it like kind of up against whatever she's saying, because I think. Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, I think there's an echo.
Oh, do I have an echo?
It just came up randomly. I'm gonna mute myself, so we'll let Chanel finish and then people can chime in.
The only other thing I was really going to say is I do think, like I said, as much as I don't like Kenya, I do think it would be fair on some level to at least, if she had any sort of confessional, I'm not saying she should have confessionals the whole time, but like if she did have some sort of like things that could make sense or help fill in the blank, then it would help us as an audience have a more rounded view of what happened. Because what happens is when you put something out there, like something as egregious as what Kenya seemingly has done, allegedly, whatever, then if you don't say the whole why and this is what happened and yada yada yada, these were the triggers, then people are left to fill in the blank, and people usually fill in the blank with the worst case scenario. In this case, I think we have, but she kind of showed her hand too. I wish that we had that footage, even if it wasn't fully, explained, but something to kind of say, where was your head? Like, they gave everybody else the opportunity to at least say that was disgusting. We hate it. Why did she do that? Yada, yada, yada. I think it would be fair to just give her that much. But I did think that I agree with her being fired, and I don't agree with a lot of people that are running around America talking about, well, Brit should have been fired too. I don't know, because I watched it 3 times. I still didn't hear her threaten Kenya, but that's what people are saying. So, I definitely think she should have gotten some sort of disciplinary action. I love how y'all are like, yeah, she needs to be on, what did y'all tell the Zeus Network or something? I'm not playing with you.
VH1, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. That's where she should be.
I'm not playing with y'all.
Pipeline to Zeus. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what? I think that, you know what, Candy. First off, I love Miss Chanel, what she just said. I thank you, Candy, because I was really confused. I was very, very confused. I'm watching these Bravo shows for a long time, and I'm like, wait a minute, I see women, Teresa flipped this, and I watched it for years. So in my mind, I'm comparing what Bravo could have done, what the ladies could have done. But I think the only answer is what you just told me, Kenny, which is like, okay, that was actually 2019, that was 2018, we in 2025. That has to be the answer because just as Chanel was just saying, um, we had the scenario in Potomac, and I know to Candy's point, and I thank you for that point, Candy, because I was going to answer Miss Chanel's question is say that we saw Monique, obviously the horrific way she treated Candace, but yet she still had confessionals after that incident. They Potomac kind of phased her out that season, but she was able to cry. She was able to do her, all her little stuff after it, and she was there for a little bit, and then she was gone. Kenya could have got that, but again, if times have changed that hard at Bravo between 2019 and 2025, then that may be the answer why it was so bipolar. It was just like this happened and she was gone. And it was like, wow.
Yeah, and the world has changed. Think about
Yeah.
how, woke or whatever you want to call it, the world is now, where it's like revenge porn. Whoa, that's huge. Bravo is also probably anticipating a bigger backlash of what Kenya did versus what Brit said. So I think they were also anticipating a much bigger backlash. And also don't forget about Scandival. We have, what's her face? Rachel Raquel. She sued Bravo. She sued Tom Sandoval. She sued Ariana for revenge porn because of the whole, simply because they talked about her, SCX video with Tom. So there's already been litigation around this. I think that Bravo was just trying to get ahead of what they thought would be social media cultural backlash over this revenge porn situation that Kenya did. And I think they underestimated our response to Brit's I'll say alleged saying, pew pew coworkers. I personally think she did say it. Kelli said she heard it. And she did say something about something on the whatever the case may be. And I think that they're now just trying to save face and cover up in case this does become litigious.
Now, I would,
Bravo's being sued left and right. Basically, every show, someone is suing Bravo.
That's true. That's true. And I was going to say too, this is a point I was going to say earlier, and it got into my mind. The ladies, so basically, I don't drive. And somebody brought this up to me today. It was like, people have said worse, and that flashed worse, and a heated, what do they call it? Rage driving, whatever you want to call it. When you road rage. When people they lose their mind, and the neighbors, they cuss each other off. They just go absolutely insane, showing all type of stuff between each other. It's all over TikTok and stuff like that. And so people in the world do have extremely aggressive conversations. And then the police officers are called in to say, what do you say to your neighbor? Why are you fighting over the lawn? Why are you fighting over the parking space? Why? Have you been touched? No, sir, I have not been touched. Well, did they put the weapon in your face? No, they threatened me with the weapon. They threatened to touch me with a weapon that I didn't see yet. Well, you know what? This is your first strike. This is your first warning. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. Again, living in New York City, you have aggressive conversations on subways and things all the time. People are very aggressive with their wording, and you may not always see a weapon or whatever, but people say stuff. So that's kind of where I come from with that. Where if a police officer was, yeah, say it again.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I hear you. However, it's the nuance is different. Well, I think there's an echo somewhere.
I think it might be Mr. John.
Yeah, I don't know if it's me. I'll mute myself while y'all talk. Okay.
No, I'm gonna mute too, so you can talk, Candy. Everybody, let me do this.
Okay. I think you bring up a valid point about a threat versus an action. However, the threshold is different when it comes to a workplace. So it's one thing to call the police and be like, hey, police, do something to this person who is verbally threatening me, versus you are at your place of work and you go to HR and you say, hey, HR, my coworker, your employee, I'm your employee, is verbally threatening me. That threshold is way less, which is why Bravo NBC, who would be legally liable for their employees, which is why I think they're taking such a hard stance against Kenya, because they would be legally liable for what their employees do if it's true that Kenya did put in a complaint about not feeling safe or whatever the case may be. And they did nothing to make her feel safe or actually investigate in real time XYZ. So it's different. It's one thing if I'm walking down the street and somebody yells at me versus if I'm in Walmart and the Walmart employee yells at me, or the coworker does. So I think it's nuanced, but I think that's the biggest difference is where it happened and with whom it happened with. And the fact that it happened on the job, because don't forget, this reality TV show, it's still a show. NBC Universal is a massive, if not multi-million, billion-dollar company. NBC Universal owns so many brands: Bravo, Peacock, NBC, NBC News, like this is a conglomerate, multi-billion-dollar corporation. Bravo is simply one product that they have, one brand that they have. Out of all of it. So, and at the end of the day, that's what the chain of command is. So what Brit said about pew pew for all of y'all, and I said this earlier, it doesn't just put Kenya at risk, it puts the entire production crew, the entire cast, the entire civilians who are there. Imagine if Brit was serious and she brought something out and something happened. That happens. That happens. Like, look at our world. Every single day you're hearing about a mass pew-pewing, whether it's at a school, at a church, at a grocery store, at the club. Like, 2025, that's no joke. So I think that both situations were very serious. Me personally, if anybody's like, I got a pew-pew for a chick like you, I'm not taking that lightly. Not in 2025. Like, you just have to look around and see that the world is on fire and people are out of their minds. And Brit is a loose cannon. She seems a little Looney Toony to me, to be honest with you. She's too hot and she has such a vendetta against people she doesn't even know. Like, you don't even know Kenya, girl, calm down. Like, cool your jets. You're talking about a pew-pew and then your weird, controlling, whack husband is on site. Why was it take your husband to work day? Why is he filming with you?
I can't say.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the coercive control. Why is where's Mike? Why is Mike there? No, was Charles there? Was Shamea's husband there? Was Dennis there? Nobody else was. Why was her husband there? Again, very weird and just bizarre and weird. And like Kenya said, I don't know this person. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. She doesn't know her. There's no history there. She doesn't know. 2025, anybody talking about a pew-pew? But like you said, and I agree, Kenya should not have said, and I don't know if it's true or not, because she's saying it now. We don't know. Oh, I'm taking it into my own hands now. No, if you're going to take it into your own hands, you'd go to the police. You'd go to your lawyer. You would take it up the chain of command. Okay, my boots on the ground producer isn't going to do anything. I'm going to go to their boss. I'm going to go to their boss. That's what you would do. You would think that revenge corn. That's where Kenya loses all footing when she did that.
And you explain her mental state, and I think that helps. But also, thank you for this too, which is what I'm understanding is if a person if somebody's in a state of rage with their fellow human being, whether you're a neighbor, whether you're in a car, or whether you're at work, because if you're a neighbor or you're outside in public, you don't have an person over you. You don't have somebody in charge of you, like a principal, like a boss. If the cops will come to the office and look at the situation and give a warning, and that's all that will happen. They do the same thing at your home, but at your job, you do have as you said, HR to take it further, to say, can the two of you work together and feel safe? And you're right about that. That's not the same, situation outside on the street or as a neighbor situation. That's a good point. And that's the sad part about this thing with Kenya is that every choice she could have made to legitimize her claims, she just went the opposite way. Because people do talk aggressively when they argue. They use wording, and then at the end of the day, she has no evidence. It's nothing was on her, nothing was touched. So it's just what a cop would have done was just showed up and gave a warning. And I think that if Kenya wanted some real results, she definitely would have, not let the woman into her event. She would have not filmed with her. She would have made it very hard for the production to say, listen, you want this to run well? Well, this is what I need to happen. That would have been some of those things happening, but she didn't do that. So, what can you do?
I think too, like, you got to remember, when you plot revenge, you should dig 2 graves. I just
Right.
really do wholeheartedly believe in that. But the only other thing, the last thing I wanted to say, to kind of give Britt a little bit of grace, only because I do feel like, one, we don't know how long they were taping this dinner that we got to see for, maybe 10 minutes out of the however many hours they may have been there. And sometimes things just sit with you wrong, and build and build and build. And if she's still talking to you crazy, whatever the case may be. So I just want to give her a little bit of grace for that, because I do think that not only could she have been stewing, but sometimes those production people, and I don't know much about production, but my guess is they hyping you up, they liquoring you up, they're probably making sure that you're liquored up enough and that you have enough quote unquote fake support to say whatever it is you need to say. They're probably pressuring you to say it or do it or whatever. And so, because first thing in my mind, logically, I'm like, they had me believing last year when all this stuff started coming out that Kenya was provoked in some way. And so, with the pew pew and pop out. And then it was like, no, that never happened, because I think Brit came out and said something like, no, I don't even own a pew pew and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I don't know this lady, so I don't want to put that on her yet. If she's saying she didn't say it, whatever. People lie all the time, but let's just see it roll out. The problem that I'm having with Bravo.
No, so wait, 1 second, Chanel. I don't mean to interrupt, but to interject. No, Britt admitted she did say it on Watch What Happens Live. She said she didn't actually have a physical one on her, but of course she's gonna say that. But she did say she said it, and Kelli said she heard it.
Right. So what? But no. But what I'm saying is, this is prior to the show. Is what we were all on YouTube, like talking about whatever you.
But that is the that is the provocation. So the provoking moment is when Brit said, and that's why I have pew pew for BIT.
Right. We agree. We agree.
So that is the provoking moment. That's
what I'm saying. I'm saying I agree wholeheartedly with you that there was provocation. What I'm saying is, a year ago, whenever this was coming out, we hadn't been, the show wasn't out yet. So Britt is saying at the time, I didn't say that, I didn't do that, I didn't threaten her, blah blah blah. But we now know she did, because we all saw the footage. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And like,
I'm so sorry. I thought you were saying that we were led to believe there was a provoking moment and then there wasn't. That's what I thought you said. I'm sorry.
Maybe I said it wrong.
Yeah, I was like, well, no. I was like, we heard her say it. Like, she said it. Yeah.
Right now, we heard her. I'm saying at the time, whenever I was, making videos about this, I was just kind of like giving this other girl the benefit of the doubt, because at the time she was saying, oh, I never did it. So just like the rest of the world found out, at least that's when I found out, is when the episode aired and they're in that vault or the bank or wherever the hell they were. When she said, then it was just like, oh, this is why I'm mad at Bravo, because y'all knew that she did this and y'all kind of let it linger out there to make people, and I'm not a Kenya fan, but in my mind, I'm thinking, you had me roasting this lady, even though I think whatever Kenya did, her response was absolutely outrageous and she should have never done it. But in my mind, I'm like, you had us thinking for at least however long, many months, that this lady was this poor little lady that Kenya attacked for no reason. That's what it kind of felt like to me when the news broke that she got fired and whatever else. And so I felt duped a little bit whenever, we saw it play out and she was saying whatever she was saying on the hot mic or whatever. That kind of irritated me, but I take a side. But I'll just say this last thing. I just do think that they had to put a stop to it. That being said, there's lots of other things that I feel like are inappropriate and things that they should have tackled or said something about years ago. And then I just did want to ask the panel this one question. So y'all remember when Nene was kicked off and she was suing Bravo for whatever the reason? I think it was racism, some other stuff she said was going on. And Kenya had a response like, you can't be doing that. You can't sue your employer. And she said some other stuff that I don't recall, everything. And then now she's seemingly doing the same exact thing. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I did. You know what? I was just saying on Candy's channel. We don't say other channels. I learned. Thank you for Miss Candy. I called in over the weekend, and I remember I was saying that Kenya was one of the women. She was one of the women who kind of was intimating that Nene was out there sad fishing, that she was almost using George Floyd movement to sort of get a better lawsuit. That Bravo's a wonderful place, and also Team Twirl said, Bravo is the best thing in the world. Now, her and Team Twirl like, no, Bravo is the pits of hell. I'm like, wait a minute, this was a couple of years ago. Why? Right, like how did they switch it so fast? I think that Bravo and Candy and I and all of us, we talk about this a lot of time. We have a lot of issues with Bravo, and at least all of us on this panel, we're real about that. I've had issues, Miss Chanel, ever since Giselle orchestrated that incident in Potomac with the girls over there. I still don't like Potomac because of Giselle, so I've had a lot of issues with the colorism and with Garcelle issues. But then Kenya and some of the ladies and then some of the fans like, oh no, there's no issues. Bravo's the most wonderful place. And now this year, because because Kenya is getting caught up in, as Candy is saying, her emotions or her bills or divorce. Who knows? Like Candy was just saying, she made a lot of mistakes. She made a lot of mistakes, and now Bravo is the worst thing in the world. So it is very American, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. I wanted to jump in. Because y'all said a lot. And I'm gonna try to respond to all of them. With Kenya and Britt, I do see what it says. Chanel. I agree with like the narrative that happened before. It was like Britt was like basically lying, say she didn't say the threat or whatever the case may be, and it was kind of like a narrative that like Kenya was like basically hazing her on the show. So when the footage come out and it's the total opposite, that's what kind of makes I think a lot of people upset. Cause and I do think when you were saying like they're not showing Kenya confessionals and they trying to cut ties with her, um, like I said, I think like I said this earlier, I think what happened was they both talked to both of them off camera. Britt gave in, Kenya didn't, and because mind you, also with the whole revenge corn situation, it was like a whole bunch of other people in the at the salon that was not her castmates. So that's a whole nother issue. And then they trying to allege that Britt was underage and Britt saying she was underage. That's a whole nother issue. So I just think they just didn't want to deal with that. So I think with that being said, they just cut ties with Kenya, and she was like, "You need to, go talk to, because mind you, she was suspended." And I do think, like, I don't know if it was last year or the year before when Danielle and Jen got into that physical altercation. They were suspended as well, but they still ended up being on the show. So I was wondering if, like, what the talks was before they decided not to continue with Kenya. And I think that's going back to what you're
I think
saying.
you hit it on the head with the underage part.
Yeah,
I think that was the nail in the coffin.
because it was just too many factors with what Kenya did. It was way too many. I feel like like you said before, Brit's I do think Brit threatened her. If I leave a place and I say I got hands for some, I got hands. I don't have to say I'm about to fight you. I can just say I got hands and be heated and it sound like that's a threat,
Mhm. 100%. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree
So
with you.
yeah, so I do think what Brit said was a threat, and I do think she lied about the threat until she had to admit it on camera. Like since the footage was shown, she had to admit that she did say it. So and also if they was trying to, I feel like they were trying to paint a narrative that like Brit is not even the victim, but I think they're trying to paint a narrative like Brit is a reason why Brit is still on the show and Ken is not. It's more. I feel like it's way more behind the scenes than what it is, because if they really liked Brit, they would have showed her in the best light. So
Mhm.
with her suing, I think I don't know if she's suing Bravo. I really think she's trying to be strategic and just be like, she just wish she was handled differently. Because I do think Kenya wants to come back. I don't think that's going to happen no time soon. But if they could bring Phaedra back, they could bring Kenya back like 10 seasons later.
Agreed. And
So
I agree. Mm-hmm.
that's just all I had to say. So
Yeah.
I do think the unfairness of it all was just the simple fact that it was kind of a narrative that like Kenya was hazing her and we did not see that. So I do think them not showing Kenya's side did a disservice. But hey, everything was going to be a hot mess regardless because now they both of their hands are dirty. So
100%. And it was just Bravo trying to save face. Because that's, like them not showing Kenya's side at all and then allowing that narrative that Britt didn't say anything. It's because they're going so hard against Kenya in case anything legally comes out, especially with, like you said, the underage aspect of it. The in my opinion, them not doing a proper in real time investigation about the pew pew. I think they're just trying to make a clean break from her in case anything goes to court. That's what I really think that they were trying to malign her to get public favor. I just think it's Bravo looking after themselves, their bottom line. At the end of the day, they look at Kenya as a product, not really as a person. Is she making us money or is she a liability? That's kind of what they look at her. And then, Chanel, come back. Your device got disconnected. Come back. I'll bring you back up.
Well, Candy, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Not about this, but this is something I think you might love because I wish I'd like the callers here. I wish I would have caught your perspective about this. So this is something I actually was thinking about all weekend. I want to know what Candy think about this. Okay. So in Kenya's words, when they're going to talk about, we had the evidence. The words it's Kenya's words. She said it was rumors about Ming Lee and that it wasn't Ming Lee that so Kenya of her own free will, she got an investigator, and she paid for an investigator, and the investigator searched Brit, and then through that investigation, that is how she came into possession of these whatever she found. She posted that she got that. She paid for it. She did this, and now she got it. So I want to ask you, because you watch Bravo as much as I do, Candy. You know what I think that Kenya made a mistake in that video, and I don't think people are covering it. You know this, Candy. Most of the time, our divas, especially the ones we like on these shows, especially when they be messy, you know what they do? They go, when they be in the scene, they be, the streets be talking. That's what the girls say in Potomac. The streets be talking, and something fell in my lap or came across my desk. They never say that they never say I took my money and I investigated, and now I got these. I paid. I used currency to now get this illicit, terrible stuff. No, what happened is it came into my DM. It came to a friend of mine, a friend of a friend. They never say that they brought anything.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such an interesting, because it wasn't my idea. I saw it online and on Twitter, and somebody brought up that distinction, and I go, wow, it went over my head. And I want to ask you, is there a difference? Is there a difference between the girls being girls? Even like Brandy and Beverly Hills, rumors. That's the lifeblood of these shows. And in a way, I like that part too, because they never really own how they got the information. They go, "Oh, it fell in my lap," and we laugh about it. But now Kenya on her video, and I'm not sure that was right. Small. She said, "I paid, I got. It didn't come from Ming Lee." I go, Kenya, why didn't you just say it fell into your lap? Why didn't you just say like everybody else do?
I think honestly, I don't think that's new. Like on the Real Housewives of Orange County, remember when Tamra had told Shannon that she got a private investigator to look into Jen and Jen's fiance, the guy who was doing all the alleged fraud? That was a whole storyline in the OC about Tamra getting a private investigator. I think that they've done private investigators for a while in New Jersey. Remember what's his name? Bojangle or Bo Diddley or something?
Oh yeah,
Bo Diddle.
But you know what?
They were saying how like Teresa and her husband, maybe soon to be ex-husband, who knows, with their alleged tax liens, Bo Diddley or whatever the hell his name was.
Bo Diddley, something
like that. They got him to investigate.
Yes.
People. They're always getting investigators all the time.
I'm not
investigators.
Yeah. I'm not team twirl and all that. I still, I respect this black. But what I'm saying too, Candy, is
Mhm.
if she, I wish she was smarter. Again, I don't want the woman to be destroyed. But if I was
Yeah.
her, I would have pulled the Giselle or Karen like they do. I would never, ever take ownership or say
Yeah.
I investigated. I would just say, you know what, she did her confessional this weekend. I would say, you know what, it wasn't Ming Lee and it was a Twitter fan. That's what they all do. They never want to take ownership for, in some cases.
But I think, but the reason why I think
This
it's
is too.
okay that she did is because I think it would have, nothing stays in the dark. I think if she would have lied, then somebody would have found the receipt. No, we found the private investigator. You lied, blah 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 blah. I think when you own it and you're like, yeah, I got a private investigator to look into this person. Do I think that's dirty and ratchet and wrong? 100%. But I'm also like, you do yourself a disservice by lying because it's gonna come out.
So
If you
investigate.
got the private investigator, somebody else is going to get it, and then you're going to be caught in a lie. And then it's going to be like, well, why did you lie and say somebody DM'd you when you got a private investigator?
I
I
guess
think it would have in the long run made her look worse if she got caught in that lie.
because that
Just
changed
like
my
what happened
opinion.
within Salt Lake City. Remember when they were like, oh, the when what's her face?
Monica, oh Lord.
What is her name? Whitney. When Whitney was like, "Oh, the blogger told me this, and the blogger said this,"
Oh
and
yeah,
then
oh yeah,
the content creator came out. We know who we're talking
yeah.
about.
Yes,
And
yes,
he
yes.
was like, actually, you called me, you texted me, and I have the receipts, and this is what was said, and you're lying, and you're twisting my words, and blah 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 blah. Because it always
That's
comes out, so
you're
you might
right.
as well own it, because it's
You know
only gonna
what?
make you look
Oh my
worse if
God.
it turns out that you lied. Then
Well,
you're
for
a
me,
liar.
okay,
Yeah,
so
and
for
I
me,
want to. Oh, okay.
it changed my opinion of Kenya a little more because when okay, you know what? You're right, Candy. You're on fire tonight. For me, you know what I was gonna say. Even though it doesn't change what happened,
Right.
my hope would have been for her with that video, and I'm sorry that she did do it that way because I would have enjoyed it more if the reality was because I'm going to say the reality because we know it's not the reality. I
Yeah.
wish the reality was that it did fall into her lap, that she didn't have as much, she wasn't as, and investigating is okay, but to investigate and to find something, and investigating is
Yeah.
great, but I think that she could have used more discernment. Once the investigation was over and you found this stuff that was so explosive, that's where the mistake happened. If it just fell into her lap and she used
Yeah.
it, I probably wouldn't be as disturbed as I am that you
Yeah, it's
investigated.
like how Dana Wilkie came out and said how Heather Gay was in her paid Patreon, getting information and feeding her information on the girls. That came out to light too. So
Yeah,
it's like what you do in the dark comes to light. And like if you're
yeah,
going to be
shit.
messy and shady, own it, because when you own your own BS, no one can touch you. You're like, yeah, I did it, and what? I'm not a liar. I might be shady as hell. I might be a little whack, but I'm not a liar and I own it. What? Then you really can't say anything to that person. What were you going to say, Johnny?
Yeah, what I was gonna say is I agree with you, and also I was gonna say as well. Um, I do think Kenya did because she don't know who Britt is at all, and I think it would not benefit her if she was like, oh, the stuff fell in her lap. When, and all honestly, we did not know Britt and Kenya was beefing while they was filming, so it would like I wouldn't think of like a random rumor or anything would come for Britt when like in the DM or the streets are talking about Britt or whatever the case may be. And mind you, the billboard thing, like that's it still took a level of like calculation for it to be, the way it was what's the words? The way it was presented on Kia end.
Oh
So she
yeah.
had
It was,
to
yeah.
say that what she did was what she did.
It's crazy.
So and I was going to say in other words too, Kenya has this fascinating thing of like being right and wrong at the same time. I don't know how she does it. So like like everything she says about Phaedra was true, but she was like she still was doing like her stunts and stuff. And I think Kenya always has a reality TV cap on. So I think in her head she felt like she was doing her job, but she just overplayed her hands in that. Cause I do think like, cause even with the
Yeah.
Apollo thing, remember like how he was lying about them, like her offering him fellatio, and like the earlier season. Yes, she still like yes, she was flirting with him at first, and they was flirting with each other, but at the same time, she still owned her part in in something. And she said, she let this lie go out. She do this, and come to find out, Phaedra lied about with Candy. Like she always, and then even with Porsha, she said Porsha has this tendency to do just like try to pretend that she's dumb and all this other stuff, and she's actually very more clever than what she is. And now we up here talking about how Porsche peaked in, she peaked in, and everybody else is still, thriving.
Yeah, Porsha peaked. She
But I
definitely
do
did.
think, but at the same time, Kenya did like provoke Porsche, but I feel like she does wrong things to expose people. So
And then the audience
I think
dragged
this
her.
time went too far. You said
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I said she does that, and then the audience drag her every time. Like everything you
Yeah.
listed, they drag her
Yeah.
because you know what? When she first got there, you're right. She knew she's a smart woman. She knew that the biggest thing the biggest trigger, and Kenny can step up and so can Chanel, because the women didn't like her because a black woman in this country, okay, they have a lot of issues, and one of those is finding a really good relationship. So here's this beautiful woman coming on the show, and all these women on the show have these relationships. So she played with that psychological kind of fear that some of the audience have about their relationships. That some woman's going to come along who doesn't respect, how hard it was to find this right man, and she's going to come on and flirt and let him grab and do stuff. That's why the audience was even Sherry Shepherd on one of the interactions on Porsha Happened Live that was a trigger for her to watch it. And she played into that. She played that villain role that triggered it and triggered a lot of people. And then, but I didn't believe for 1 minute she was attracted to Apollo, but she played the character of the villain, of a woman who would try to mess up a person's family. I didn't believe she wanted to do that, but it was her thing. It got too heavy, and she was getting very sad, and only Apollo could, basically, set her free from that storyline. And then she became a woman that I enjoy until the Cookie Lady. After Cookie Lady happened, I didn't like her as much.
You know what it is with Kenya, and then also to answer Chanel's question from before about how I think she asked how, when Nene was suing and Kenya came out and was just like, oh, you're sad baiting, Bravo's a wonderful. And then also to the points that Mel just made. And I did a video on this about Kenya maybe 2 years ago. Kenya does not support or like beautiful, successful Black women.
Facts.
Wow. Yeah. Whoa.
Point blank, period.
Okay.
The way she treated, I touched upon this a little bit before, the way she treated Garcelle when Garcelle was the first Black woman on Beverly Hills.
I remember that.
She
It's
was
very
all
sad.
up Kyle's butt, tweeting, oh, Garcelle's playing the race card and blah, blah, blah.
Did she?
She did.
Yes, she did.
Disgusting.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
she did. Disgusting.
Where was I? Oh,
I don't
Jesus.
know. And she was saying, like, I guess she wanted to be the first one on Beverly Hills, but she doesn't even live in California. Like, Kenya, girl, bye, stop. Like, you were in cool for like 2 seconds in the 90s, girl, bye. So she clearly was, probably jealous of Garcelle's, career and her stature and how beautiful and graceful she is. She totally threw Cynthia under the bus on Ultimate Girls Trip. Played the absolute hell out of Cynthia, treated her like garbage, was kikiing with other women about her, was all up Lou Tree. Kyle was all up Luann's butt, Teresa's butt, Kyle's butt, all up their butt, and just basically treated her bestie Cynthia like trash. They had a huge falling out after that. Think about how she treated Kim Fields, Kim Fields like trash. On the show, because again, Kim Fields, she's a Black woman, successful in the business, she was directing and writing and acting and all this, that, and the third, 100%, went after Phaedra and Apollo. Again, I don't think she wanted Apollo, but I do think that she wanted to feel superior to Phaedra. And the way that she would feel better than Phaedra would be to play with her man in her marriage. It had nothing actually to do with Apollo. It was a power play against Phaedra. Because Phaedra is a beautiful woman. beautiful woman, successful, whatever the case may be. And so with the whole Nene thing, when Nene is suing, and now all of a sudden it's funny. It's not fun when, it's the tables, the table. That's the thing about the tables. They sure as hell turn. So it's not as fun when she's no longer in favor.
That's right.
Same goes for Nene, though. Nene had no problem with Bravo's favoritism, racism, sexism, whatever isms, when she had the favor of Bravo. But the moment she fell out of favor, all of a sudden she wants to be BML. Girl, bye, get out of here. Knock it off. You had no problem with how Bravo treated Black women until you were no longer the favored Black woman. The same thing with Kenya. She had no problem with the way Bravo treated Nene. She had no problem with the way Bravo treated Black women until she's the Black woman who's not being treated fairly. So knock it off. And I think the reason why she didn't stand with Nene is because she doesn't support other Black women. She likes to be the beautiful, successful Black woman who's able to be fluid in white and Black spaces. She likes to be that type of fluid girl, like a Garcelle, like a Lisa, even a Phaedra to a certain extent, I would say. You sort of see that. And so I think Kenya, I don't know how old she is, but I think now in her life, it's, to me, the energy is very similar to a Porsha, which is why I think we see Kenya and Porsha kind of befriending each other this season. Before Kenya got fired, they were almost like these kindred spirits coming together. They're like, yeah, we used to fight back in the day, this, that, and a third. But they were really coming together because they were in that same category. Both of these women have been divorced. Both of these women are co-parenting to the best of their ability with very difficult men. Both of these women are becoming of a particular age. Both of these women have kind of, I don't know, like they're in very, we're not sure where the money's residing. Simon's money was funny. Mark clearly played the hell out of Kenya. So we don't know what's happening with the money. We don't know what's happening with, being a single mom or a co-parenting mom with a very allegedly abusive and, I'm not saying physically, but definitely emotionally, mentally trying, men who played the hell out of them. And now they're going back into this very precarious, toxic reality TV space with younger women, whatever the case may be, fresh blood, fresh meat, not even younger. Shamea is not younger, but she's richer. She's married, with women who are in positions that they either wish they were in or used to be in. So I think that they both are coming from a place of uncertainty, which is very scary, and a place of lack, a place of unknowing, a place of identity crisis. And you even see Porsha has really checked herself these episodes. That's why she's like, well, Drew can come. I don't want her to, but I'm not gonna. Oh, it's okay. It's cool. Porsha is not Porsha-ing because Porsha doesn't want to get Kenya'd. They both need that Bravo check, clearly. And even when Porsha was like, did you catch how at the dinner before everything happened, Porsha, or it was even before the dinner when she was like, oh, I know something about Charles. I know about your husband to Angela, but I'm not going to say nothing. I think it was at the dinner before everything happened. And then after everything happened, Kenya got fired. Clearly, Bravo is not playing games because it's 2025 right now and you'll be canceled in 2 seconds for basically anything. And so did you see how Porsha switched up? And when Angela was like, so what did you say about my husband? What do you know about him? And she was like, oh, girl, I was just playing. I don't know nothing. I was just making stuff up. When we all know, at least in my opinion, she heard the same thing everybody else heard, was that Charles had a baby on the side, but Porsha wasn't about to get caught up in no mess. And so she was like, I was just joking.
And mind you, Brit said the same
joking.
thing.
You knew you heard some stuff about her husband. That's why you said it.
Yeah.
And I said, and mind you, Brit said the same. I said, I was agreeing with you. I said, mind you, and Brit said the same thing. This recent episode, exactly probably what Porsha was going to say.
100%. 100%.
Oh, yeah, Brit know. You know Porsha know.
Yes, and also with Kenya and the whole Garcelle thing, Kenya's publicist, I'm not sure if she's still her publicist, but also beautiful, accomplished Black woman is the woman that allegedly Garcelle's ex-husband was cheating on her with.
Huh?
So, yes. So, Garcelle's ex-husband, Mike Nolan, he is or was a top agent at CAA. CAA is a huge talent agency. It's one of the top talent agencies in the world. So, money, 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 where the money reside. These are the people who represent your Brad Pitts, your George Clooney's, your Angelinas, your whatever the case may be, these are the top people who represent them. These are the people getting them jobs. She was married to him. And he was cheating on her. And then when she caught him cheating, they got divorced, and he's been with this woman ever since. This woman allegedly said, "Oh no, I wasn't cheating with him," but like the mathy, you know what I'm saying? The math wasn't mathing. And he's allegedly still. I don't know if they've broken up by now. I don't know. But when I found this out, this was a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago at this point, they were still together. But that's Kenya's publicist.
So Candy, now wait a minute. So now you're blowing my mind because
Okay.
listen, so Kenya is not. So this is unfortunate. So Kenya, you mean to tell me, Candy, that she made a statement publicly about a Black woman being microaggressed out of her mind in Beverly Hills, working with Garcelle's, working with basically the mistress that kind of messed with Garcelle's marriage?
Yes, I did a whole video on this.
Gosh.
And to the point where the mistress slid into my DMs.
Oh, what?
And was talking about, "Oh no, I don't know where you got this from, blah, 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 blah,
Okay.
blah." And I was like, "Girl, leave me alone." But yeah. This was maybe about 2 years ago. I'm trying to think of what prompted it. This was during the whole, I want to say, like, Real House Beverly Hills heyday, where it was like Garcelle and like the bots and like the dirty Diana and the Lisa Lamont of it all. I think it was during that time when people were talking about everything.
Yeah.
Kenya does not like or support other Black women who has what she wants.
You see, listen.
I don't think she flat out hates Black women. She's not like a Bose. I think she doesn't like women who makes her feel less than.
So you know what? So now I'm remembering the moment at the reunion, the first reunion, where Porsha brought up a woman. Now I bet you Candy knows this because you do your research, and it went over my head. Porsha was saying, you talk about black women, but you weren't the first. I forget what it was. A funny moment. She said you weren't the first Miss America or whatever title she had. There was another woman from Detroit. And you never mentioned her, and I thought that was very weird. If it was somebody before you, Kenya, that led the way, why wouldn't you give that woman flowers if she was the first in that category to win something? So to your point, yeah, she get. You know what? I don't think Kenya's evil, but I do believe, based on history and what you're saying and just TV, she does give Black women a very hard time. She really.
And can I just say,
she's wounded. She hasn't healed that mother wound.
Oh my God! No,
Can I just add to this?
Yes.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It really irritates me. Look, let me calm down. I shouldn't get irritated, but I'm irritated about Kenya. She just irritates me in general. But like every time she always is like, I was Miss USA or whatever it is, and even gave Porsha, that she gave her a hard time about it because I wouldn't know the difference between Miss USA, Miss Universe, Miss whatever. I don't know the difference. But the thing that irritates me is like for her, and shout out to all the beauty pageant winners or runner-ups or whatever, but like for her, this idea that this is such a huge accomplishment to be the winner of some sort of beauty pageant, when in reality, you didn't create your own beauty. Your parents did, your grandparents, whomever you came from it. It's not like the same as I went to college and I had to study hard and I had to actually do something. All you had to do was be, learn how to walk in heels or whatever it is that they teach you in the little school. But your beauty is something that you came there with. You arrived here on earth that way. It's not something that so to me, it's like when you try to sit on the couch and be like, you can't sit next to me, I'm a part of history and this, that, and that. Because of why? because you're pretty is a whole bunch of pretty girls that are not a part of that. It doesn't, to me, it's like I could be superficial. I like to shop at Saks and wear Chanel and Louis and all that. But to me, that's even more level of superficial. I can't take it. It drives me crazy with her. And I wanted to chime in about y'all were saying Kenya didn't like Apollo. I don't know what season y'all was watching. I felt like Kenya liked Apollo from the jump. But he's listen, Apollo is handsome. He's sexy. I don't know why we would think she wouldn't like him. And everything she was doing in that season was flirting with him.
I think she could have been attracted to him. Like Apollo objectively is an attractive man.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
But I think that the root cause of her flirting with him and being that brazen with a married man wasn't so much because she actually was like, oh, I want Apollo to divorce Phaedra and run off with me.
Agreed.
I think the root cause of it was I want to trump Phaedra. I want to get one over on her. I want to get under her skin. I want to have a power play. Because I think with women like Kenya, they're in constant competition with other women. Whether it is true or false, it's usually in their head. And so they see something that you have and they want to take you down a peg or two. So sure, she's attracted to him. I'm attracted to him. Paul's fine. He's fine, okay?
All day.
But I would never disrespect, number one, myself.
Come on now.
I ever flirting with a married man. Because I have self-respect and I love myself and I validate myself and I'm good with who I am and I love myself. So I would never disrespect myself by being that chick. Never in life. I don't care who you could be married to freaking Brad Pitt, Michael Jordan. I don't care. I don't care who you're married to. I have enough self-respect. I would never play with the sanctity of marriage.
I agree. And I think too, like the thing with Phaedra, and I never liked Phaedra either until she went over to American Medicine. Then I was like, okay, I can deal with her. But the thing that Phaedra didn't have, as smart as she is, a book smart or whatever it is that she didn't have, is she didn't recognize, in my book, Kenya is prettier, in my book, is prettier than Phaedra. In all the ways that people think pretty is pretty, right? I think that she would win that competition, so to speak. And it's like, so you're cuter than me by all whomever model standards and whatever else. And you want what I got, and you can't understand how I have him because he's that handsome and he's how he chose me and not you. And I think that was really her beef with Phaedra. I don't think it was about the video. I don't think it was really about Apollo per se. But I think it was about, like, how did she get something that I didn't get? And how did this because I know in Kenya's mind, Phaedra's not cute. Phaedra's like a little roly-poly. Phaedra's this, and this. So she's beneath me. So how is it that these women that I don't even think look as good as me? Because I'm certain she don't think Kim Zolciak, Nene, Kim Fields, maybe Porsha might be a little bit of competition to her. But in general, maybe Cynthia might be a little bit of competition to her, but in general, no one else is competition. So how is it that I'm alone with no man? And I don't shame women because they alone or don't have a man. That's your life choice. If you didn't find the right one or whatever the reason is, you're in that boat, you're in that boat. That's why I can never really get with Kenya, because it's just like, to me, I know you guys were saying, well, she's not evil. I'm like, I just have to call a thing a thing. When you're plotting for days and weeks on end, or however long it took her to come up with, this is what I'm going to do to try to humiliate that lady, that to me is evil. Because I'm just one of those people that, even with my husband,
I think she's a very broken person.
Well, right. I can't say she's evil. I'm saying her actions.
I think
that's how I feel.
I think she's a very, very broken person who is acting out and doing all these crazy, evil, whatever the case may be, things. I don't think Kenya at her core is a evil. I personally don't like Kenya that much. I've never been a team troll person. It's not my cup of tea. But when I look at her, I just see a very wounded, broken, sad person who is like bleeding this mother wound. And until she really heals that, she's never going to have a healthy relationship, not just to women, but particularly to Black women. She's not going to have that healthy relationship with them. Not that I'm saying she has to heal her relationship with her physical mother. She needs to spiritually heal the wound within her. And until she, and And because healing is an inside job and it's a solo
Mhm.
job. You don't heal with another person because you can never control anybody else. The only person you will ever control is yourself.
Yeah.
So that's
So-
why you can still have a wound with someone who is alive or dead.
yeah.
And that's
But the
why you
thing,
cannot heal if somebody is alive or dead. So I don't think Kenya at her core is evil. I think that Kenya at her core is very wounded and very broken, and she does a lot of effed up things. And I'm
and I
not
think
excusing it by any means.
I think Kenya has the lowest self-esteem of everybody. The reason I feel that way is because you supposedly are this beauty queen and you're so beautiful and you're so accomplished and you're all of these things. You can list them out of all her accomplishments and this, that, and the third. But you went and got a man, you went and chose a man that basically told you in every which way, I'm going to control every part of this. And you were so happy. And I don't know, I feel like he probably bombed her and then he became who he was, once he got her or whatever the case may be. But it's like that man showing up on this show showed me, it confirmed, I'll say it like that. It confirmed what I always thought about you. Like how you're talking about that brokenness. He kind of, I feel like he zeroed in on that and then he latched onto it because he knew that was her way of validating her worth. I now have a man and I am now pregnant and he's also handsome and blah, 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 blah. And then it all came crashing down because it was all a facade. It was all superficial and fake and you were putting on. And that's the reason that it was so interesting to me when she sat at that table and tried to like bait the lady I was talking about, Tanya or whatever her name is,
Yeah.
years ago. Is why it's like, this is why your life is the way it is, because when you took something like hair. Now I didn't think what Tanya did was cool. I thought it was shady, but they're all shady. Like, it's like, it didn't deserve, you went and you took a sledgehammer with what you could have just flicked with your hand. Like, you
Right.
didn't need to bring her all the way down like that. And it's like, then the next year, literally, remember they were going on that trip because they were going on that trip and Kenny was like, well, y'all, like, everything's going on with the divorce. So if we could try to not, blah, blah, blah. And I'll never forget, Nene was like, she didn't give a about what happened when she was sitting across from Tanya. So it's
Right.
like, it's fair. It's y'all, let's baby her because everything is on Front Street for her. And that's another reason why would you do this to this lady now? Even if you have all this ammo, you don't have to use it. And that's the thing, what you're saying about her tearing down Black women or women that she feels that maybe on some level she feels inferior of.
Yeah.
So,
that's the whole core. I mean, a couple of things though. One, regardless of what the external thing is, whether it's looks or degrees or accolades, like anything like just because you have a bunch of degrees doesn't mean you have self-esteem. Just because you have a job, a husband, none of that. And the problem is anytime anything outside of you, whether it's a degree, whether it's a man, whether it's your looks, determines the way you feel about yourself, that is low self-esteem and low self-worth. Because you should get it from within. Just because you are enough. Point blank, period. I don't care how many degrees you have. I don't care how much labels you wear. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. I think when it comes to Kenya, it's really not about the other women. It's about the brokenness in her. It's not about what the other women, it's really not. That's why you see her, what she did with Brit made zero sense because she's operating from her own wounding. It really had nothing to do with Brit. It really didn't. You don't do all of that over a chick you don't even know. And at the core, what Kenya really did was self-sabotage.
That's deep.
That's at the core what she really did, because you were at the grand opening of your hair care spa. You have this a major platform for all the promotion in the world on Bravo, on NBC. And you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars.
right.
You have financial stuff going on. You're coming out of divorce with a alleged narcissistic guy who's done all this stuff to you. And this is your moment. And the way you chose to use your moment was by doing arts and crafts with revenge porn on a girl.
Not arts and crafts.
And then you took the time to recite a whole dissertation. She had a whole speech memorized. That is a level of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. at the core, and then what did that end result happen? She didn't get rid of Brit. She got rid of herself. She ended up getting herself fired.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And she should have never included her daughter, Miss Candy.
Hello.
I know.
Never. That was yeah.
So at
Kenya,
the core, so at the core of what Kenya did really had nothing to do with Brit. At the core of what Kenya did was self-sabotage. Because when you don't love yourself, when you don't feel worthy, when you don't feel good enough, and you are on the cusp of greatness, you are on the cusp of, having a great hair care thing, you find a way for it to be taken away in order to justify how you really feel about yourself. That's why when people who have low self-esteem get into good relationships, because you can attract a great person, then all of a sudden, are they cheating on me? I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe I should go through his phone. I don't know. Maybe I should pick a fight. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that.
Or accepting things.
Oh, it's too good to be. It's too good to be true. Something has to be wrong, and nothing is going on. But you've created this whole scenario because at the core of you, you feel like this is too good to be true. This doesn't really happen to me. There's something about me that doesn't deserve this. So I'm going to sabotage this so I have a sense of control. So it's like, I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me. I'm going to mess this up before it messes me up. Because you want to have a sense of control. And what Kenya did was sabotage herself. Because at the end of the day, the only person who's hurting from the situation is her.
I think she thought that she was going to be able to use the media or whoever the people were, the social media people that were there, and then they would spread the word about how she is a hoe and whatever it was that she was trying to get her point across to the world, to say this is what Brit is before we actually see it on reality TV, playing out on reality TV. But I really do think to your point of the brokenness part is, I feel like we saw, or at least I saw that, and it was just so sad to me. Remember when they went to, I don't know where they were, but they were on that sky, high in the sky. So it's like a little crane, and they were all having dinner in the sky, and Nene was doing the most, and because she's scared of heights. But this is the season where Cynthia was going to open her cellar or whatever it was, Cynthia.
Oh yeah, the wine bar. And you saw how she treated her.
Correct. That's what I was going to say.
See?
And even the women up there were it was just kind of like, Cynthia, girl, wake up. Like, she's out here dogging you. This is supposed to be your bestie.
It's like a Porsha Shamea situation, right?
I forgot about that.
And I tell you the correlation between Porsha and Kenya. These are two women who should have been way bigger, better, more successful than what they are. Because to be honest with you, their whole little Bravo reality crap isn't really where they should have been. Kenya should have been way more, and so should have Porsha.
Instead of hating on Garcelle, she should have been with Garcelle with all these deals.
And then maybe Garcelle would cast her in all these movies and TV shows that Garcelle is executive producing. Maybe if she wasn't such a hater, maybe Garcelle would have thrown her a role.
Yeah, you know what? On that note, Candy, you know what? This was absolutely wonderful.
I know.
I'm gonna drop down, but listen,
me too. I'm tired now.
No. This was good because I'm every time I call in to these different I was gonna say presentations, because you have all your evidence there. It'd be good. I learn a lot because I come in and I have my own thoughts, but then I listen to you and I go, oh, and I was gonna say one last thing too, because based on what both you ladies were saying, everybody was saying, she is not a twin of Giselle, but everything you said about her is giving me that feeling. The only thing I would say to Chanel's point, why I was saying that she's not evil, and I know Candy would agree with this. She's a mother. She loves her daughter, and Giselle loves her daughters. But one part that she becomes loving with other women of her own age or whatever is when she either can haze them, or she can actually, or they look up to her and say, okay, you are the queen of, you're the leader of the sorority. I'm gonna bow down to you. I'm not gonna challenge you. I'm going to just do all that kind of stuff because she's alpha.
The thing is, but that's not true though, because that's how Cynthia is to Kenya, and she still dogged the hell out of Cynthia. That's how Shamea is to Porsha. Porsha dogs the hell out of Shamea.
Now I don't
in that.
Can you give me an example of that? Because I do think that I felt really bad for Shamea in that reunion where basically Porsha was choosing Phaedra over Shamea all this time, I was like, yeah, that's not your real friend, Shamea. Unfortunately, you don't even realize it. But outside of that, what are you saying? Because maybe I missed it in terms of how.
Well, just on
getting dogged out.
just on this season alone,
Oh, at the
Porsha,
table with the music.
Porsha dogged her the hell out when she said she had the song. She's like, "That's not you, that's Drew."
Right.
No, it's not. Like, that was so hella disrespectful.
But you know, I was gonna say, but I was gonna
Yeah,
say too, but they relationships. 'Cause I love that point. So, but Shamea is supposed to eat that, and I think that Cynthia is supposed to keep on begging, even though she saw
Mhm.
her girl do something wrong. Those relationships with these women, with some of the folks on Kenya, the relationship with Kenya and Cynthia, which is on ice right now, would work if Cynthia would be like, "Girl, that was the best thing you've ever done." Like, basically, be a fan, basically tell her everything she does is right.
But
That's
the
when
thing is, it wouldn't be healthy though,
it
and
wouldn't be helpful. No, it wouldn't be
but
helpful.
that's what we're talking about.
It
We're
wouldn't be
talking
helpful. Yeah.
about Kenya having the ability to have healthy female relationships, particularly with Black women,
Yeah.
until she heals the mother wound. So sure, she can be in relationship with
There we
Kenya,
go.
she can be in friendship, but it's not a healthy friendship.
No, absolutely
And
no.
that's what we're talking
It's the
about.
leverage.
Kenya's not going to have a healthy friendship, relationship dynamic with another Black woman until she has a healthy relationship dynamic with herself.
But Cynthia too, because remember she was
100%. No, 100%. That's why they attract each other.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's why they attract each
Oh
other.
my gosh.
Because what's lacking in Cynthia, she sees in Kenya, and what Kenya's lacking, she sees in Cynthia, and they both
Correct.
feed into each other's own insecurity.
And then Candy, who would have thought that Needy would have been the smarter of the three of them? She said, "I'm out." She left the two of them alone. She's like,
Well, Needy has bigger problems and bigger.
I know,
when she got fired, she was just lost her mind.
I got it, but you know what? But you know what? But this, what you just talked about, I'm happy for Needy to be away from these two right now, even though, because because for a long time they were like, "You're the problem." Now, listen, when you broke it down, Needy's like, she ain't that dumb. Needy's like, "No." What Candy is saying, I'm talking about you, Candy. She's like, "Candy, you're right. This is exactly what they're gonna do. I don't got time for it." She has her own things going on, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna drop down. This was good.
Oh, so good, Mel. Thank you, love.
All right, I talk to you soon.
You too.
I want to do.
Everybody, good night.
Yeah.
I said, I want to respond to what y'all got to say, and then I'll drop down too. You know.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in response to Chanel, I not even playing devil's advocate because I'm not on nobody's side in the situation, but I do think Britt did. Reason why I don't like Britt is the same reason why I didn't like Kenya in her beginning seasons. Of course, I grew to like Kenya into some sort of degree. Does that make sense? Because like you get like the backstory, and that might happen.
They grow on you. Yeah.
Yeah. So that might happen to Britt because I do think Britt, tried Kenya unprovoked, but that's still, Kenya tried Porsha and a lot of people unprovoked her very first season.
Exactly.
So I think that's, and I feel like I wish Team Twirl would like realize that because I'm not Team Twirl at all. It's just, I'm going based off the season alone. And then it's, it's to, agree with what Candy was saying. The whole situation was self-sabotage. Like, she didn't have to go that far. And I think I would say the reality TV cap is a cap that ruins a lot of people's careers. Like trying to get a good moment, try to, have people come because at the end of the day, nobody is talking about her salon other than the situation that happened. And that's unfortunate for her. And I would say with like the Garcelle and Kenya situation, I do think they came up around the same time in the 90s, being in like sitcoms and stuff. And I think maybe there's some personal beef there. I don't know no tea, but I was just wondering if that is the case. I wonder if y'all think that because I know they was on the Jamie. They wasn't on Jamie Foxx show together.
I feel like Kenya's probably jealous because Garcelle is so unproblematic.
Yeah,
that's all I was gonna say.
She is so unproblematic, and she is so diplomatic as well. And she don't be playing about her money.
And she's honest. Like
I never honest.
sit in
Yeah.
there. I don't know if I can trust Garcelle. Like I don't think that. You know what I'm saying? With Kenya, you like.
Yeah, cause I was wondering if like they maybe even got into it on the Jamie Foxx show together, and Kenya's still holding that grudge, and Garcelle probably ain't even do anything that bad. You know what I mean? So
I didn't know Kenya had done anything. So this is news to me. I didn't know she had done anything.
Yeah, she was like I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's why her whole beef was with Kim Fields because Kenya it was an actress. Like she was on like shows, but she was never like prominent in like
Exactly.
anything.
She was a guest star, not like
Yeah,
Yeah.
like she was. And I think, and she used to like how delusional she is. She used to hold herself at like a high standard of like being an actress. Like she was next to a Kim Fields. She was next to a Nene Leakes. She was next to a Vivica Fox. Because even on I would say what's that show
Yeah,
called?
and like she did
Celebrity
Vivica
Apprentice.
on Apprentice.
Yeah,
Yep.
she did not like
See?
Vivica Fox.
And what she did to
Yeah,
her with the phone, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
See?
yeah. I remember all of that. So
Kenya is the definition of a person that has to tear you down. She needs to dim your light. She needs to blow your light completely out so that she can feel better about who she is and what she needs to do. That's exactly what she was doing to Kim Fields and what she did to Vivica Fox. And it's like, I just don't even understand. I have a real life person that I know personally that has been in a competition with me in their head the whole time. I'm like, I don't want to be your friend. Like, that's your friend. That's your bestie. I don't need to be her friend. But it's like they're in a silent competition with you. And it's just like, I'm not competing with anyone. I feel like that's how Kenya is with what Candy is saying about with Black women. It's just like, if they have more than her in any part of her lane, then she feels like threatened by it. She doesn't know how to kind of deal with it. So therefore she
Yeah.
has to find something wrong with you. So, and then expose that. Like
yeah,
And she will
with she's
sacrifice.
beautiful and remember when she first came on the Housewives and Cynthia was a model already, right? Like I don't know if Cynthia was runway or whatever she was, but she was an established model, and only since she couldn't say she wasn't beautiful, it was like, oh, she's dumb anyway. So then I'm like, how the hell do y'all end up being besties? You can't call me dumb 3 years ago, and then now I don't understand it.
I mean, well, Cynthia was dumb, just like Shamea's dumb
Right.
for being well for
But I
real.
can't be friends with
No,
you
that's
when
why
you
I'm
say
saying. That's
that.
why I say they attract each other and they clock each other because Kenya knows I can call Cynthia a dumb and Cynthia will still come and be my lapdog mouthpiece.
You're
but
right.
yeah, and I will
You
say I do
know,
have more.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I do have way more grace for Shamea because I understand because I feel like a lot of people have been there until they grow out of it. Like you have a friend that you had
yep.
since
It's the longevity
childhood.
part. It's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we've had all these years, even though I've outgrown you. Like you're
yeah.
still
Yeah.
stagnant, you're still this, that, and the third. I was that when I was 15. I'm 40. Like, what are we
Yeah,
doing?
and
You
I
know?
Yeah.
think what's the problem is I think Shamea has a level of ego a little bit, just in a little
Mm.
slight way. Like she don't want the world to be, because everybody say when you get on reality TV, it breaks up friendship, it breaks up your friendship. When I feel like that friendship was already broken before they was on the show. Uh,
100%.
but I feel like she's just holding on to like, oh, I'm not going to not be friends with Portia just
She has
because everybody else
loyalty.
is seeing the cracks of this friendship.
I think with her,
That's
she's
also
like
another
me
thing,
in
and
the
she's a people
sense of
pleaser.
I
She
think
is a people
she's like
pleaser.
me in the sense of like loyal to a fault.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I feel like with Shamea, she's just it's the longevity part, and I'm gonna be loyal no matter what. At least I'm not gonna let these people, the world, see us break up as friends, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But and it's I disagree a little bit with you guys about the show breaking you up or the show whatever. I think the show exacerbates it because it puts it on front street things maybe that you wouldn't have seen or you wouldn't have heard them say about you. They make sure that makes it into the show, and so now you have to account for that, like you see this person in real life because they're real life friends. And I think with Shamea, the way Porsha is set up, even though she's not the same exact way Kenya is, the way Porsha is set up, if Shamea surpassed her, which in my opinion she has in terms of her likability on this show, if Shamea surpasses her, that's going to be problematic for her. It's the same reason she has a problem with Drew working with her baby daddy that she didn't care about when she was flying around in private jets and all this. That was she could care less. But
I
now
think
that all of that's been taken from her,
I think beyond the show with
No, I'm saying,
Porsha and Shamea, it really has nothing to do with the show. It's the fact that Shamea has already surpassed her in life. She's in a happy, seeming for all intents and purposes, a happy and healthy marriage with a very wealthy man living in a big house. Excuse me. She's living the life Porsha thought she should live. So, regardless of likability on the show, Portia's already hating on Shamea. The problem is with Shamea is that she is a people pleaser. Therefore, she gets her value out of performing for other people, being useful to other people, being needed by other people. She said on the show, I like to focus on other people's problems, so I don't focus on my own. That is also unhealthy and toxic. They have a codependent, toxic relationship. Both of them are feeding something into their wounded ego that they're getting from somebody else. The codependent person says, I get my value from what I do for you. The more narcissistic person, like the Porsha personality, gets their value from what you do for me. And that is why they're friends, and that quote friends, because it's a codependent, toxic relationship. So just like Porsha is wounded, so is Shamea. Because if Shamea wasn't wounded, no way in hell is she going to still be friends with a person like Porsha, who not only Porsha, but Porsha's mama talked about her like a dog on the show, and then turn around and still defend them. Ain't no way in hell I'm being friends with somebody who them and their mom are dogging me out on TV.
Right.
And if they were that comfortable to say it in front of cameras, imagine what they've been saying for years behind cameras.
And that's why I said, and I think Shamea, I feel like Shamea do not want. That's why when I say reality show, I feel like that's like what's the words? I feel like I would say a trope. I think that's the right word.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
exactly. She doesn't want the stereotype.
And mind you, I feel like it's not a stereotype if that's what's actually going on. You know what I mean? But I feel like,
Exactly. I agree.
so yeah, so that's where I was coming from with that. And I would
Yeah.
say also, like, when it comes to Porsha and Shamea, I really hope Shamea really gets out of that friendship ASAP. And mind
Me
you,
too.
I was a huge fan of Porsha, and this is me saying that out of love. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, everybody has been there. Like I said before, you had that friend who you was knowing since, sixth grade, seventh grade, or whatever, high school, and then you're going to, adult years, you probably got more than them, and then it's just something off, like the friendship start feeling different, and then, but you still become you're friends with them because y'all have all these years and stuff, with them, and that's why I say I kind of give Shamia, more grace than like Cynthia, because Cynthia met, Kenya like around, like a little bit before the show, so when it comes to them two, I really want them to like break free because a lot of jealousy is in that friendship. And then I feel like once a lot of jealousy is in that friendship, it's pretty much dead. That's what it is. Because you're not supposed to, be jealous of your friends. You're supposed to,
bitterness.
you're supposed to, yeah,
Porsha and Kenya are both very bitter women.
yeah,
Because when you are living in the shadow of your potentiality, that is nothing but bitterness. I think they're both bitter because of the life. They don't want to admit it, but they're not where they should have been or could have been because of the choices that they made.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody told Porsha to go with Simon and do foul and dirty like that. Nobody told Porsha to quit, Dish Nation because she thought she hit the jackpot with. Nobody told Porsha to make these very weird decisions she's made that has put her in the situation she's in now. And nobody made Kenya be Kenya and just, failure to launch, whatever the case may be. Like, both of these women are just very bitter because they haven't lived up to their own hype.
Yeah. And that's
I
just
think to your point, Candy, I was just going to say the point you made about Shamea has already surpassed Porsha, and Shamea is definitely living the life Porsha thought she was going to be living or should be living or whatever.
Yeah.
What I was saying is that I agree with that 100% because that's her real life, regardless of, that it's being filmed now or whatever. The part that I think Porsha's holding on to that Shamea, in my mind, has already surpassed her in is now in her workspace, right? So everybody knew Porsha because level. She's this star, right? She's come into our homes with Cordell, and she's been through the divorce, and she's been through the, screwed up baby daddy drama and all this kind of stuff, and she survived it all. And now, supposedly, in Porsha's eyes, she's gotten to the pinnacle or whatever. But now she's gotten knocked down because Simon then drug her like within an inch of her life, okay, on social media. And now she's, in my opinion, she's afraid that, or because this is already played out, we're just now seeing it, but now Shamea is going to surpass me in this show too. And I think she's probably going to make Shamea feel guilty. How you came on my show and you don't want me to, like that type of thing. I feel like the friendship has been eroding for some time now, and it's really going to it's like, it's her time. It's Shamea's time, because I didn't know Shamea had money like that. I was just like, my mouth was on the floor when she was just like, I don't want to be defined by my wealth. I'm like, what wealth, girl? What you talking about? But she showed out and showed up, and I was like, oh, okay, Shamea. So I know Porsha has to be dying silently on the inside every single day when she, doesn't have that life that she thought she was going to have, like you said, and she quit her job at this nation and all this kind of stuff. I remember when she was driving off and she gave her mom the key to her house. I was just like, I don't know. There's something in me that always says, no matter what, have your own. Like there's just something in me, and I have a husband, and I don't have to work, but I do work because I don't play them type of games. I just don't know that I could give that much of my soul up to just be like, well, whatever he wants to do, we'll just do that, and we'll just live off his money. And I think she just is one of those people that sells her Queen Victoria to the highest bidder. That's just my opinion. But that's it. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you too. Like, and I was gonna say, and I'm about to head on now because I'm getting tired.
Me too.
But yeah, I was gonna say I agree with everything you said 100%. And I will say, like, that's why I think the reality show aspect, because like I said this when I first came on the panel, I do feel like it's very telling that Candy, suggested Shamea to be on the show more than Portia has. Like that's like a mega
Right.
fat on the internet. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So with that being said, I do hope they do the healthy thing and stop being friends. It's going to be a-okay.
No, they're still on Front Street.
Yeah. So
Because they both run Watch What Happens Live, still fronting for each other. And I'm like,
Do you think they're no longer friends in real life right now, Candy? And they're
no,
just doing
I think
their
they are,
okay.
but
no,
I
I
think
think they are. I think they are. I just think their friendship is still unhealthy and toxic.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
yeah.
I think it's rooted in obligation, not in true friendship.
And I will say, like in the future seasons, we will be seeing. I do think we're gonna be because people think Brit is gonna be one and done. I don't personally think so, but
I agree.
I feel like Brit. We're gonna see a shift in Brit, but I feel like the same thing is gonna happen over again. Like somebody's gonna come and then it's gonna be worse, and Brit is not gonna be on the show no more.
Ooh.
So that's what I think is going to happen. That's just my speculations. And usually I'm right. I predicted that Mia was going to be off of Potomac 2-3 weeks, not a month ago. Somebody bookmarked it today and said, oh, I'm bookmarking this. And they came back today and said I was right.
Mm-hmm.
Candy, I know you said you got to go, but I have one
Yeah.
question to ask you.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm going to
Yeah,
say bye to y'all real quick, okay? I
Okay,
have
bye,
to do it.
Oh,
sweetheart.
bye,
Thank you
Jamie.
so much for joining, sweetheart. Thank
I
you.
enjoyed
Mwah.
it.
You have a good night, okay?
You too.
Okay.
I was just gonna ask because
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know what I was watching and I saw Mia. Did you show something? No, I don't think it was you. I was maybe right before I got on here.
Mhm.
I didn't know she quit, and I wanted to ask your opinion about that because all I could think when she walked off the reunion is that, girl, why
Garcelle,
are
you
you
mean, or
throwing
Mia?
this away? Why
Wait,
are you
Mia
throwing
or
this stuff?
Garcelle?
Mia.
Garcelle quit. Mia got fired.
Oh, Mia got fired.
Yeah, they didn't. I heard that they did not offer her a contract.
I wonder why they had her in the front seat sitting next to okay. Oh.
Yeah, I heard they did not give her a contract.
Okay, well then that's different because I thought that she
Mhm.
decided because she ran off with her boyfriend or whatever.
Mm-mm.
So I thought that's what that was. Well, damn.
Yeah. I don't think she would have quit on her own. One, she needs the money, and two, she likes the fame. I think people like Mia would only not come back if they weren't asked back.
I agree.
And allegedly, she was spending more time in Atlanta than in DC anyway.
Trying to be an Atlanta housewife. Okay.
I hope not. Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, they might be casting, but stay off of my Bravo screen.
To be fair, I honestly, as much as I think Mia is a liar and everything, she's everything that's wrong with a human being, in my opinion. I still liked her in terms of like her confessionals and stuff like that. I felt like on some days she brought like a lightness to it. Like plus what's the call is gone too? What's her name? The grind down? She's
Karen.
going to
She's gonna be in this thing. I'm sad about it.
Are you? Why?
Yeah, I didn't want her to. I don't want her to go to jail. I mean, I get it. I understand with like all the multiple DUIs and not learning her lesson and sort of, I get it. It's not right. I get that that's wrong, but I don't care. I still don't want to see Karen in jail.
You know what it was for me, and I am a person that believes in giving people grace, but my friend lost her 17-year-old daughter like 3 years ago. They were just coming home from a game, with their friends, and a drunk driver hit them, and only one person survived that, and that was the drunk driver. And so,
I totally
I
get it.
can't give her
I think
grace because
I
you
think we all know.
intentionally.
I'm not saying what she did was right. I
No,
know that
I get
I
what
know
you're
that
saying.
people die in,
Yeah,
in drunk driving accidents. I know that. I still don't want Karen to go to jail.
like
I know. I don't want her to go to
I
jail.
get with you.
What?
Okay, I'm gonna let you make it. No, it's kind of like how I feel about Ralph. He's one of the most
Mm-hmm.
disgusting people on planet Earth, but that man is hot and sexy to me. He
Oh
is
no,
so
not
disgusting.
hot and
So
sexy.
yeah, like I know
Hot
he's a horrible
and
human
sexy.
being, but I'm like, listen, I understand why Drew was there. I mean, I understand, you know what I mean? But
I'm
no,
up in the
I don't
basement.
think I wouldn't say I wanted Karen to go to jail because I never want to have anything bad happen to someone. But at
Yeah.
some point you gotta have but I do wonder what the show is gonna be like without her. Like, cause she brings some level of something else,
Yeah.
especially like with Giselle, because I feel like she's the only one that could really kind of check Giselle in a
Yeah.
real way.
Yeah.
So I wonder what that's gonna be like. I don't know. I almost feel like they should just put it on hold until Karen gets out.
Like they did with Jersey for Teresa, right?
I don't think they're gonna do that though. I don't know.
No, I don't think so either.
I think they're gonna bring Candace back, which I'm for that. I like Candace. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if Candace wants to. I think Candace took a break because she was preggers.
Yeah, and I think she was tired of the stuff that was
Pregnant.
going on that show.
Yeah.
And I'll say this one last thing about that because I know I could talk forever about it, but like I really I personally feel like, and I don't know if it was all Bravo or all Candy that was just like, I gotta go and I don't care what y'all offer me. I need my peace, during this pregnancy that made her leave. Or if Bravo was just kind of like, we're not really asking her back anyway. I'm not really sure, but I personally feel like wholeheartedly a wedding and a baby shower or a baby coming, no matter what people's problems are, they will show up for your wedding and they will show up for your baby shower. It just is what it is. And I feel like despite all of the craziness Giselle and all of the people on the dark side was bringing to the show, if Candy would have been there with her little pregnant belly and Giselle still was shading her, then it would have been a problem. But I don't think that would have happened because I think that's the great like divine that will like bind people together is someone being pregnant. Like I just feel like it would have solved like everything else would have
I
gone
think
to
the
the
show
wayside.
was too violent for her to be preggers on it.
I agree. I wanted
the
to
other
see
girl,
her go through
KK, got
that.
knocked in the head. She got stitches suing Ashley's friend.
That's true.
Candace got molly-whopped by Monique.
What?
Mia was throwing her fake Chanel on Wendy's forehead. I think having a baby and like maybe the pregnancy maybe was
I think it would have settled people down. That's all I'm saying. I think people would.
Only one can help, but when you get knocked in the head and you get stitches and there's lawsuits, you don't know what people would do these days.
No, and I agree with you. I'm saying in my little, world of wonder. Yeah. I just feel like it would have brought the cast together is what I'm saying. More than like, and I feel like as much as I can't stand Giselle, she's likable when she's with her children. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like that's the part where okay, I can deal with you. But outside of that, she's just annoying in so many different ways. That being said, I didn't mind her this season. I don't know if it's because she wasn't, doing the most.
I think Giselle got humbled in a healthy way when her father passed. I think that really changed. I think that really changed her when her father passed, and then also Robin being fired. So I think that she didn't have her sidekick. There's consequences for their behavior, and then her father passed. I think that fundamentally changed her, and so I think that she was still grieving, probably still a little bit of a shock. Maybe. So I think that's why we saw sort of a more empathetic Giselle.
Yeah, I agree. You make a good point because I didn't even think about that, but I really liked her dad. I won't say I never liked Giselle. I did like things about Giselle. Like I think she belongs on Potomac. I think she should be there because she's good for TV. She's not necessarily a good person, but I liked her dad because he was just like, listen, He got 9 kids, like on a hot mic. I was just like, I'm here for it. Like, thank you, Jesus. He telling her Jamal ain't good for her. But no, I really wanted Kandi to, like, I wanted to see that process play out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted, as much as I didn't like the environment, it's toxic, like you're saying, I wanted to see that play out. And I wish we could have had that opportunity to see it, but I think they're going to bring her back. I hope that they do. I don't know, though.
Yeah. We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. Well,
so
thanks for
much,
letting me come up
Chanel.
here and run my mouth for a little bit.
Absolutely. You're always welcome. Come up anytime you want. I appreciate you coming up.
You're very, very welcome. You guys have a good night. I'm going to go
You
to sleep
too.
too.
All right. Have
Bye-bye.
a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Shout out to my beautiful panel. Thank you, Chanel. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you so much for coming up. Shout out to everybody in the chat box. Darren Hood, Shayna, Sasha, Alicia, Adam, Mary, Vodka, Tunisia, Young Rich, Andre, what is up, sweetheart? SW. Anybody that I missed, I apologize. I think Kathy, thank you so much. So as always, you guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and send me any of your requests. Either DM me on Instagram at Kandi Washington, send me an email, assistant@kandywashington.com. Everything's linked down below with any requests. It doesn't have to just be Bravo or reality TV. It could be anything you want to talk about, chat about, cover, pop culture, self-care, relationships, whatever the case may be, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to chop it up, let me know and we will definitely get to it. So as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, SW. Everybody have a good night. And first and foremost, everybody be safe. You know, Ricky King, but like, it's just be safe. The world is on fire right now. Look out for yourself. Be mindful of your surroundings. Everybody just be safe and take care of yourself. All right. I love you guys. Bye.